This computer. Alrighty.
You still have audio, Paul? Okay. Great. So if you think you may need some information repeated that comes from administration or delegation, we'll move it along the delegation when it's their turn. But if there's something from administration that you can't hear, then let us know and we'll pass the phone over.
Sure.
Do you have enough charge on your phone, Paul? Okay. And we'll try and keep this as quickly as possible. And how are you feeling?
Not bad right now. I don't quite have the stamina, so I might start getting something like that. Step out, but right at the moment, I'm good.
Okay, so just to be clear, your health is more important than village business. So if you have to make some adjustments, please do, because it's concerning. Thank you. So I guess we'll call this meeting to order of
10:34.
10:34. And we have the agenda out here. Was there a handout? Or was that all in here for that here for the model?
I don't have the note. Did you want to add that to the addition and then we can finalize it?
Yeah, I've got it. Yeah, so they have it in their presentation, so that should take care of that. Okay.
You want to have that as an addition for discussion of delegation or separate?
Well, it's kind of both. Okay. Good, thank you. Is there any other additions to the agenda?
The only guide that staying on the agenda is additions to the agenda, but before we adopt it, it does look like a full agenda. And is it just a given that we'll go from the top and work down, or is there opportunity to prioritize if there's any time sensitive or urgent stuff to make sure that we don't end up moving up and urgent or time sensitive stuff?
Yeah, actually, Paul, so the delegation is going to come right after the minutes, and then I have some marked that we should do first, and we'll just adjust it through the priorities, and if you find anything on there that you think you may want moved up as well, we'll do that.
Okay, that sounds good. Did you bear with me and jump around and go kind of consecutively through it?
No, in this case, we can play around with the follow up the chair and the rest of council. So
Sounds good.
Okay. So adoption of the agenda. Yeah, everybody in favor?
Yes.
Okay. So the previous minutes we had, there wasn't too much business going on there. It was mainly the organizational was the important part, and we have that now on the website, so everybody is kind of getting into their positions. And if you have troubles on your committee, Melissa and myself will forward the information if we get any minutes, or meeting announcements, we'll forward it on to you until they for sure have all the information for contact, and then we'll let you know. Well, Melissa can do it, and then I'll also let you know that you should contact the parties involved until it gets straightened around, because sometimes it takes a while.
Yeah, and we did send out letters to tell all of them who was on what, so it's just a matter of getting, but.
Yeah, they may miss some. Okay, so the minutes, I assume that everybody's ready to go set. And we need approval for the minutes, please.
Yes, please.
Okay, so we need for the regular council meeting, favor. And for the organizational, Dan, and all in favor? Okay. We have no hearing, but we do have the delegation. We have Cheryl Van Dusen, the president, and Andrea Hildebrand, the treasurer at the meeting to make the presentation. So I'll just move.
Pass it down.
Call Mrs. Van Dusen, and Andrea, and I think well, you don't need to see me. She did work her. So Andrew's going to start with some of the hall rental info, and then I'm going to jump in with some of our budget requests.
Yeah, so what I had done is I just made a list of all the hall income, the rentals this year. The only difference in the paper you would have seen is there's actually another $160 coming at the end of this month. So I listed some of the expenses that we put through out of the hall rental money. Now, I'm not sure if you're aware, but we collect this money on behalf of council and then we hold it. So you guys have final say in how this money is spent. To date, we should have at the end of this month, we'll have $1,732. That's council money. One thing I did want to confirm, Melissa, we talked about doing the minor cleaning supplies, and that's still going through week. What about the cleaning labor? Do you want us to take that over out of this money?
That would have to be a council discussion. It used to get just submitted at the end of the year to the municipality. So that would be a council discussion.
I don't know really. To me, it doesn't matter. If we got the whole rental income, it makes sense to do.
It makes sense to me.
Whoever's got the rental should pay the.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. The cleaning of the hall should come around.
Did you hear that call? Okay.
Thanks so much.
Okay.
Yeah, so we just outlined a little bit of what we thought our expenditures would be, because we don't have a bill from our regular cleaner yet, but we estimated that it would be about 25 hours, $35 an hour to come up with $875. We also are going to put an advertisement out for an annual cleaner. There's some things in here that our regular girls can't do. And so we're thinking that we would do an annual deep clean. We've got to make formal items. And then see if that works to be an annual thing, or whether maybe it's every 6 months or spring and fall. And we thought that might be an appropriate thing to come out of the fall income as well. That sounds appropriate. So that's kind of where we're leaning to in terms of our, what we do with our hall rental income. So then, doing the next page, this is our reason. So we met as a board about a month ago and talked about all the things that we would like to see moving forward. And then we tried to prioritize Some of our big asks and our most important asks to us as also society, and expenditures. So one thing that's been talked about every time we have an event in the hall is that the hall stall, we didn't get our bigger hall. And when we try to kind of spill out into the outside, we have a parking lot that's not flat, that we can't really use to help our events become kind of a bigger thing. So what we would like for consideration is some change out here that would allow us to have a bigger space, which would involve making everything flatter, doing a retaining wall on that hill so that obviously it wasn't stuffing off, but it was flat. And then a party tent that we could put out. I don't believe we thought we would leave it up, but let's say July 1st. We will put it out, we have nice, so we have a bigger space in case our weather is hot, cold, rainy, whatever the weather is, we've got this space out here where we can use it. This is our biggest ask we would like for consideration. So I went and did some background, you'll see later on in the document that Andrea and I spent kind of an enormous amount of time trying to source and price every ask that we had, so that we had what we thought was hopefully a rather accurate number in there. So we did include that in our ask. So you can see the numbers there. So that's our big things that we like. Another one that we would love to see, but after I talked to a guy in Tabor for about an hour, I think it's a big ask and maybe something, I don't know what you guys think on it. Those of us that have been here for a while know the story of the current dead digital billboard that we have over here. So council had acquired it. It got working and the board was running it, and I don't know more maybe you could tell us, but anyway, it's functional now. And we still continue to get comments cycling back to us that I wish I had known, I wish I had known, I wish I had known. So we are very careful in our media that we put everything out by email, by our Facebook page, and by WhatsApp or White Sands every single time something comes up. We're a little, I don't know, residents about walking around and putting papers on the boards that we have, but our Secretary May says she will do that. So anyway, we priced a digital billboard. In this digital day and age, I think it's something we would really like to consider. I don't know if it's in the budget for 2025. I don't know if Melissa can put us on to asking for a grant somewhere, because she's been using it knowing where grant money comes from. So we're happy to do some of the legwork if you as council think that that's something that could be looked at maybe in a 2-year time span. If that's not something that can be considered, updating the message boards would be something that would be, I'm sorry, that's a different thing. That's our, so one other thing we thought we could do, it's not very expensive, is get like a little sandwich board that we could update and put maybe 2 of them, one in the entrance and one right by the entrance to this area, by the hall, to update people as to what's happening, say, in the next week or 2. So the little sandwich board things that you see, say, outside of coffee shops or whatever. So that's a nice, less expensive ask, and we would be happy to manage the use of them. And then perhaps doing some updating to our current bulletin boards. I don't know if anyone in the room is trying to put anything up on the bulletin boards. It's not really cool. It's sort of wood. You try to, it's a challenge. So we would like to see some updating to them, and we did some research on what corporate, etc. So it's not a big ask as well. So that's in there for the information boards for you guys to consider. And then the third capital project, I spoke to Melissa about this, is these 2 windows, this one and this one here. Because they're liftable ones this way, they're heavy, we're all old. I can say that. And then they don't come down equal, and then we have a bug problem in here. So I would love to see these 2 windows at some point. We would like to see them switched out to sliders. But I do believe we want some opening with them. These two don't open, perfectly fine, but for some flow through. So I just went, I believe you can go back and see that I double people for these prices, just to get full sliders. So not a huge capital cost would make us in terms of trying to keep this place clean and a bit bug free. Again, something I would like you to talk about and consider. So those are the three big capital costs that we came through and prioritized after our conversations. And then we came up with some, we call them expenditures, kind of some ongoing things. Meg and Brenda Bondi are fabulous Christmas lights people that put Christmas lights on trees, etc. And they now want to spend and put Christmas lights on our hall, which is wonderful. We want council to consider putting those permanent LED lights you can put on, and then you have a program. So if you're anywhere in Statler, you can see their Halloween colored at Halloween, and then their Christmas colored at Christmas, and then whatever. And then it'd be a one-time expenditure that would be put up, and then again we would manage. I know it's keen to manage the color change. So that's one thing. Another thing that we would like to ask for bug control when we have our events. So when we have an event in here, usually this door is left open and that door is left open. So bug control is impossible. But if you have an air curtain, which is something you put above the door that blows air down. So if you think about walking into Walmart, right, you get that blast of air. They do it more as a heat curtain. We're doing this as an air curtain so that our bugs would not come in. So we can put them above both the doors and the air keeps coming through. I believe you can turn them on when you want them off when you don't. And I think the bugs will be way better when we're trying to surf through the air and not coming. So that's one of our asks. Andrew and I went and had a look at this big griddle that we have over here. We have a massive griddle out here, if I can even have it. So it would be lovely if we could use it. I don't know why we have not used it in the past, it doesn't work, but we would love to see some refurbishing and some big cast iron griddles if we did burgers or something, we could use that. So that was another thing. At the beginning of the spring, we asked that we have a bug exterminator come and spray. There's been a number of people in the community have talked about this, and they say that if you do it in the spring, the number of bugs on the building, that in the building is cut like dramatically. So I would love to have that happen. This front door, I wanted to ask for the front door, but I don't think anything wrong with this front door. But we would like it refurbished, clean, painted, and weather stripping, because as pointed out, weather stripping on the right hand side is not beefy enough to keep bugs from coming in. So the front door being kind of cleaned up. Pressure washing in the building, we're just putting that out there perhaps some students could pressure wash the building. Better Wi-Fi, also, using this already had. So I think go already done that sort of under advisement. Again, I did do some talking about what was starting. I think that is the one that I hear is the best out here. And then we had a conversation about indoor access to the attached garage. Again, we have events here, but we have this sitting empty and as we don't have a big enough hall. I don't know if we can speak to this, whether it is even viable to put a door in here that we must have access over there. So I don't know if that's an expenditure thing. I don't know if that's an appropriate thing for us to talk about now. Again, that was one thing that came up in our conversation, but how can we better use the infrastructure we have now, because we don't have that larger hall that had been considered a couple of years ago. And then the rest of the pages are just the detail on us sitting down and trying to cost out, where do we get these cost amounts? So we weren't just all the numbers. And so we can look at that in the future to see what's there. So that is what we would like you to consider. I know we don't get answers today, but as I mentioned with capital projects, the first one is the upgrade of the parking lot. Second is changing, some of the informational, streams that we have, and then changing all the windows. And then we have some other things, so. You guys want to ask any questions or just do the presentation?
I can make a few comments
Okay.
and, so the first one for the concrete blocks, the price is about bang on is what because Bastrop Concrete makes.
Okay.
The trouble with if it was other Calgary company, the trucking's gonna kill it.
So, yeah.
And where they have a bigger truck and they can bring so many long time.
Yeah, like that.
Same with the gravel. You can get the same through the village pretty well. The blocks and getting them here would be the smallest part of the budget. Placing them and leveling them is huge because there's a drainage line down there in front of the hall. And there's also a gas line by the shed on the right side of the shed.
Oh, I have to work it.
So,
But you're not asking for extensive, it's more than that.
Like that.
so, whatever the contractor would cost to do it, because we don't have the equipment. It still hasn't what it would be in expense, so I don't know what it would be, but we looking at quite a few $1,000. And the other part is that there's possibly a grant that we can apply for that is to do with protecting the areas in villages and towns. So this is, would include this building and the shop and the mobile shed and all the rest of it. Because between where the dumpsters are down to the lake, there's about a 4-foot rise. So the water isn't going there naturally, but there's a huge, huge storm. So one of the budget items that I was gonna bring to council was that to do exactly what we were talking about, except having we would have to, you might be able to go under the gas line or whatever, but a leveling off, sloping slightly towards the lake would be a large culvert. Our French drain system, the line on that comes out at the bottom of the hill here on the right-hand side is probably 4-inch line, maybe 6. But it wouldn't be capable of taking all the water from a flood situation.
Yeah.
So this grant is particularly for protecting infrastructure, important infrastructure for the village. So that might all work together if we're able to get it. And if it isn't, I guess you have other means.
There are other things,
Yeah.
like the main apartment construction, dropping water, sewer. If it's because you're developing and growing, they don't consider that as viable as part of this grant. So it's a very careful now. Our stormwater management plan, some of what we want to divert may fit in the grant, is what I'm checking out. But to just do this area here, where we have an option that's already in the stormwater management plan to divert some of this water that comes this way to go a different way, that may fit under the grant, and that's what I'm investigating.
Yeah, and we did get storm management plan just done last, it just came up last spring.
Yes,
Yeah.
this spring.
So all the allegations are being looked at, but it's a long-term thing to do.
Do we have an engineer's report on stormwater management that tells us 100-year flood would flood this place?
That's the stormwater management plan. it's actually, it's, what happens is it has assessed all of the drainage area, the pond areas we have. And how to have the overflow, because we have no overflow. And that's why things come here. We've got the French drain in here, but if we can have the other ones diverted and have overflow, so it's a natural drainage course, then you would have less coming here.
Have we ever had a flood on the platform?
Well,
Not my time.
there has been,
Okay.
but it's been years ago, and actually where the bottle people is and the dumpsters, that was a slough. But the whole event in the earlier times, like Front Street from here to Buffalo Road was never there because it was a slough.
Yeah.
So, and we don't know what the weather's gonna do, and everybody, and like the government of Alberta especially is wanting mitigation for like flood. And then on the other hand, fire, like because the weather is so different. And it's a big subject. Like for Jasper, for example, I mean, you build up there in the land use bylaw, they're going to put that it all has to be steel siding and steel roof. So everything has changed, but this parking lot, in my mind, is important for drainage. Otherwise, dig a bell hole and have a big old 6-inch trash pump if something happens. I mean, we can discuss this for hours, but I'm just kind of overviewing a little bit. The message, information, getting information out is important. For sure. The digital sign I have on my name had such a bad experience with the other one, but it was $6,000. It wasn't.
Why is it?
Well, I can give you, I didn't for the email, because this one is awesome, but, that's that's at the lowest end.
That they could use the same infrastructure?
You could use the post there. One of the issues we're going to talk about later is because the sign is going to be facing like as you come around the corner, which is southwest, that is the brightest way. So then the pixelation has to be brighter or no one will see what it says. So then we couldn't go with the cheapest one. It was facing in a different direction. So if we say northeast, north is kind of the one that you can get away with the lesser one. So he gave me all the breakdown. I have a big, huge, I can set it alone. Breakdown. He was really passionate. He called me 3 times in one day. And I was on the phone for a long time. They serve a lot of places in Alberta. They have one at Salt Lake that they just put in. Salt Lake spent more than 17,000. I think it was closer to 25. Because they thought it was important that their residents know what's going on in the village. So, I thought when he told me this number, I have a heart attack, but when I went to do research, that's actually not a very big number for that kind of,
Yeah.
infrastructure.
Bernie Feist, when he was still alive, did research on the new one. And he helped with the old one too.
Yeah.
But at that time, one that was a good one was around 26,000.
Yeah. So 17, I guess, is not. We had it around.
Okay. And just with the court, I mean, you can probably get something that will fit into the existing. The windows are important, but we also have people in the hall or in the village that have a window company.
Oh, for sure. When I was doing the pricing,
And installation on top of that.
on top, exactly.
And
We do have some money in our budget. We did bring our current budget along. Because we got a great, candidate grant for we do have some money to help out with some of these things. We just don't have access to dollars that we do as, the council do. So we're certainly willing to, hear what you have to say and what you would be willing to help us out with. And then I'll go back to my board and say, okay, this is what council said they're gonna do. how much and where are we gonna spend our budget dollars that we have left for 2024? We don't do our budget in 2025 until January, so our budget is ready in March. So then we know moving forward, where things will go, right?
Yeah.
So we are willing to do something.
Yeah, this is just done.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Understand.
So the grill out back, it was used, it was never used. The public never used it because it was too dangerous. It gets so hot, it's horrible. And, but now it's got a mixed gas and so it's really good. But it would have to be, as far as the Hall Society, they can certainly use it, but they should have really responsible person. But as far as the grills, there's two in next door here.
We know that.
And they're about, they run about 4 things, so we used to just take all the 30 bottle and run all day. We used to do the hamburgers on that. Shake it. But they are honestly about side of the table, just about understanding. So the propane bottles were just set outside the work. Lines, stay. Stop whatever you want. But I think, talking about Wi-Fi, the access that is possible. It's
And well, furnace just kicked in, so it's not any longer.
But, for the access right. So you mentioned pickleball here or something, which would be okay, so. Also. Yeah.
We've got a warm part, then we've got 4 days, and then we've got this one, we also have to do the water, because we're filling the tank with the $2. The water.
And then I was going to talk about how the thinking, they could have a place for, I could see, person responsible. Doors open.
Yeah, I think it'd be super nice, like, I come to go there and exercise and put Jerry put stuff and then have some stuff. So I don't know if the guy is some tools stuff. This fall isn't quite big enough for our needs, that's why I said we was going to get, try to campaign for the building. So we're still control alternatives, that's why we talked about in the summer. Can we use outdoor space more effectively? So we flow from here down there, it's mainly sunny there. We've just got more space. Sort of, what we're looking at. So, yeah, so I mean, if a door can be put through there, or we can talk about what the important uses of, having that sandbar in there, to see response people, obviously, all of us that are here, it would be awesome to have us here. Responses on that.
Yeah. And then.
I think there's always options you can look at.
Yeah.
Summer and winter.
Right.
of how we can share the space, maybe storage space, things like that. So I definitely think there's opportunity, but we have to investigate that.
And what is the law of inputs? Because that's actually, if this is all, that's shop, and it's built together because it's there, and the provincial wouldn't do just a hall, so that's one for the shop.
Yeah.
So we have to combine at that point. No, that's all I've got. I'm sure there's other comments, but talking about these things is pretty good, and the understanding patients as well.
Thank you for putting together this fairly extensive. And the costs are actually pretty accurate too. Concrete block blocks at Bastrop, $100, and you're gonna pay for delivery on top of that, but Stetley would have a similar thing. I would prefer to go locally as much as we can.
Absolutely.
Gravel, yeah, the digital billboard, that sort of thing. I think we need to take this all away and work with administration to kind of go through some of these. Some of these might be a bit of a no-brainer and at very low cost, but any of the larger items we have to look at. And if we're doing these lights again, let's not make the same mistake, and let's get a digital board that can withstand the elements. As far as higher pixelation, I mean, you could put that would give you some shape. So there's a few different options, but I think we need to take these away and kind of, tear them down one by one. And I don't think it's all that unreasonable, but you have to look at the budget too.
I can break it down for you guys if you give me that direction to what we can look for, what would have to come from tax dollars, how it will look in the budget, as what type of increase, that sort of thing.
And just lastly, we want to just address the heater for the bottle shed. We read through what Lauren had sent us about he has one, and he was willing to sell it to the village for $400 and then have electrician come and wire it. We'd be willing from the whole society perspective to pay for that. That is our income.
It's a no-brainer.
Our saviors, and I think they're all here, some of them are here. And we want to make their life as comfortable as possible, so we're wanting them quick. So we would be willing to take on this cost. If you would facilitate having done one, since you've got the heater and then you submit a bill, we'll pay the bills. With no problem with that.
And we can facilitate Matt Electric to do that at the same time he's doing the connection for the office. We could work it that way.
Okay.
And we can just, then once we get the bills, we'll send you guys an invoice.
Yeah, you understand that we'll pay for this, but it's still village property. That's our understanding.
Okay, yes, perfect. So I'd like to kind of run it through administration and then we'll just bill you.
Okay, we need a motion to that.
Yes, please.
Well, I need to explain PCC because I'm a guy who's got to do that. The reason I bought it was for my room, but everybody had insulating and boarding it. And I'm gonna go do that, the way I get it done. But the heater, and it's the Ranger actually owns a company, Dayton, that makes the heaters, and they've been in business in 1937. And they still make the same model, the one I have, has been made for years, and that's an American. All the parts are replaceable. I know that there was some talk about getting one from Princess Auto or another one, but for parts and operational, it's kind of a better thing in my opinion to use something that's more reliable.
Electric heater? Well, I think you have a conflict, so I'll make the motion. Paul, do you have anything to say about the heater?
Yeah,
initially, for just simplicity, it would be somebody coming in at 7, turning on the heater for the guys that come in at 9:30 or 10 to do the work on Mondays, and other than that, I don't think there's a lot of activity happening the rest of the week, so it could be shut off completely because there's nothing in there that needs to be prevented from freezing. So it would just be probably about 4 hours a week that the heater would need to be on. My concern is that did we get enough energy draw down to that?
Yeah, I checked with Bryce, from Van Electric, and when they put the new, we had to put a new line down there because of the fact that the system went on the new officer. So he put either a number, he wasn't sure, but it was either number 1 or number 2, wiring down there, and it's the same, it would be the same as the residential.
It's got a good 30 amp service at the service.
Yeah, he said the heater would use a 20 amp, I think the panel box is square deep, a 20 amp, but he suggested maybe putting a 30 in there. And then I talked to him about what Paul had said, and it can have, it's got a thermostat on it, like the dial thermostat on the heater, but of course it's going to be hung from the roof. But he also said that you can put a thermostat on it, which would be much easier.
Somebody just comes in, turns the thermostat on. Okay.
Yeah, and you can do that in conjunction also with like a time dial for acoustic tablet, whatever. Or you could have it down to, and you can,
I don't think you need it on at all.
I don't know, whatever. Yeah,
It's up to you guys how you wanna do it, but make it federal resolution and it'll come through administration and then we'll just invoice. We'll save
I'll make a motion that we purchase the heater for the agreed upon price. And that we engage a electrician to hook that up and then work with the Hall Society to figure out a schedule to turn the heater on and off.
and we'll schedule this the same time as they connect the office, so we have less transportation costs.
Is there any electricians in the community that do that on the side that could do it, that we could contact locally?
Oh, man, is local.
Okay. Each bite size. Oh, yeah. Oh, okay, that's
Yeah.
fine. Yeah, no, I'm just trying to avoid the transportation costs and all of that.
I do too.
In this case, if they're here doing the wiring for the building, makes sense.
We only pay transportation if they have to run around the park, so they didn't accept like the whole compare everything.
Aaron, did you get all
Um,
that? Sorry,
Yeah, moved by Councillor Zemble to purchase the heater of $400 and engage an electrician to install and work with the Hall Society to have, and work with the Hall Society to have a schedule to turn the heater on and off. Why not, and install one. We don't want to work at the same time.
Well, we're going to do it anyway, so we don't really need
The
it,
last part,
but you need to have administration or to somebody on.
work with the Hall Society to create a schedule.
Yes. We'll get the utility.
and I can help, if, like Dustin and I, or one of them. Felons can help monitor, then that Bryce doesn't have to do that.
Well, you're gonna have Bryce come out, and it's better to just do it right, so it's done.
It's
Yeah.
hanging there. And then I got all the specs for how far it has to be away.
Read it again. Moved by Councillor Zemble to purchase a heater for $400 and engage an electrician to install. And administration will work with the Hall Society to create the schedule for the heater to use for operation.
Okay, so, you know, say that we're gonna invoice the whole society for the call. Yeah, we must be clear.
And can you turn on where you work?
He goes for a while, so.
But an administration will invoice Paul Society for every cost.
Paul, it's just a motion. Did you hear the motion? Yeah, thank you.
So then you guys would need second motion.
Second.
Curious, there were two sections there, capital projects and expenditures. And I wasn't thinking, a lot of those expenditures are probably capital. That came into the questions for the candidates for kind of a town hall beautification concept of that whole area. And maybe looking at the big picture of what's our vision to that whole area that we want to, be small incremental projects for, we look at, if you want to,
Yeah, that's a good, very good comment, Paul, because sometimes not intentionally, but folks make decisions that have to be repositioned in the future. So that is something that we would have to look at, and it could have implication on if there was going to be another wall built at one time or another, or in addition on this one, or however. So maybe that's a good idea.
Thank you, Paul. That is good to consider as we watch other larger municipalities face these kind of things of rash decisions and then backtracking when you spend the money.
Yeah. Okay, well, girls, very good.
Thanks for having us. Thank you.
Yeah, and then we'll be working on a budget.
Can I get a resolution for their package so that I know when I'm bringing back to you guys?
I'll make that motion.
The motion to
Take this as information.
table this as information from administration, provide a review of costs and tax implications.
Yeah. That's something we have to be kind of really looking out for 2025, because the grid data just came up with 11.5% to start with, and they're starting to work on these other municipalities that are setting at 5 or 6.
Cost options, budget implications, possible tax implications.
Yeah,
Yeah,
what could potentially be covered in
that's right. So the options of we break it all down. More information, I know, the easier it is for me.
Well, when are you bringing it back?
December, meeting of
December?
yes, and for the December.
Thank you.
I think
I'll be calling you. Are you
I'll forward along some of this, the other information, we have big makers we could go forward and then we've updated, numbers that we've got today.
Yeah. I'll email you guys. I think we should have a sit down and kind of walk through some of this stuff, because I think there's options we have. I don't want to have a discussion.
Appreciate that.
There we have.
Okay, and all in favor?
Oh, there we have.
Okay.
Mayor Thurston to table as information to have administration provide review of costs, options, budget implications, tax implications, funding options, and bring back to present to council at the regular council meeting on December 11th.
Okay. Okay. And second, all in favor?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, so you guys can give if you want or sit if you want.
Yeah, let's take that.
No, you guys are nice.
Okay, so next is six, rescind policy miscellaneous administration fees and sundry accounts receivable penalty. Melissa?
So the reason that we've been here asking for you we apologize for that. Thank you. Okay, so this is, we're asking you to rescind this policy number 1 because we already have a bylaw that covers administration fees, and because of the MGA, you cannot collect fees if it's not in a bylaw. So this policy is now obsolete and redundant because we actually couldn't collect those fees being in a policy, so we had to move it to a bylaw.
And it is moved to the bylaw.
Yes, we have our revenue and revenue bylaw.
So all we need is a motion to rescind this.
Correct. Motion to rescind this policy, and then you will review your fees and services bylaw within your new budgets beginning for 2025.
Okay. So if someone wants to,
So moved.
So I'll need a motion.
Dan makes a motion.
Rescind the policy miscellaneous, policy 1, miscellaneous administration fees, sundry accounts.
And I'll second that. All in favor? Okay. Thank you. Thanks for the list in here too, Melissa,
You're welcome.
because that's something that the new council and myself have to be reminded of all the time.
And that policy and bylaw review, we added that so that you guys can see what we have on the working list and what needs to be done, and you decide what's priority for us to direct us to work on that you feel is the priority.
On those 4.
Yeah.
Not all. The more current ones, yes, your tax ones are other taxation and assessment, but like your procedure bylaw, your tip, or sorry, where's another, the land use bylaw, stuff like that, there's community standards. Sewage is on there.
Yeah.
Paul, what we can do is, if you go over this list, then you can just get a hold of Aaron and Melissa, and they will fire it off to you if it's not on the website. That procedural bylaw was in our last meeting for our organizational.
And right now you're gonna deal with 2 future update bylaws, so that's in this package here.
Yeah. But you can always get them from the office, they'll just email.
Yeah.
And that goes down.
So if you have nothing that you want us to push really hard on, do you want to accept this as information, or do you want to pick one that you want us to start reviewing?
I think for information for now, like, we're gonna get pretty loaded here with,
Yes.
but
So let's do a motion to accept the policy and bylaw reviews information.
Your turn, Paul.
Information as information now. Don't use my exact wording though.
Hold on.
all in favor? Yep. Thank you.
Okay, next RFT is for counselor training. So as this is a mandatory requirement coming up in it's in the MGA that you may attend or you should be attending. Doesn't say you have to, but as per your bylaw 19922, council code of conduct under section 13, orientation and other training attendance, it states that every member must attend the orientation training offered by the municipality within 90 days after the member takes oath of office. As we have incurred additional costs with an election, we have asked if municipal affairs would be able to provide, which would not have any extra costs. So they stated that they would do these certain things that I have listed in the RFP. And so if we could get them to come in, and then the rest of the training part is also kind of attached in your package to get you some more information on strategic plan, ICF. So I think we're getting to the point, but this would really be a benefit, and I would need a motion of council as we have as the recommended action.
Okay, and just for information, that was made mandatory because of Bill 20. Is it Bill 20?
Yeah, it comes in for the next election, yes, but we also have it in our current policy, procedural policy that the bylaw. That it has to be done now.
Wrong with municipal affairs, that's just in that first half of it.
The line share of it.
The lion's share, yeah, they'll do that bulk part, and then we've already started implementing more stuff for you guys, that if you have questions on, we would have those discussions and get everything up to date.
Then that would meet our mandatory requirement.
We're looking for council to motion the red bylaw 19922, council code of conduct, and are authorizing to have municipal affairs provide a roles and responsibilities session for all council for the Summer Village of White Sands to meet the 90-day requirements from taking the oath of office October 16th, 2024.
Must be completed prior to January 16th.
Okay. And they're just waiting for the resolution from us because of all the
This is online. I believe.
they will tell us whether they'll do some online and maybe come out. So whatever will be, I think, to do online. Yeah, we're doing first in our combination thereof.
What's the latest date, 16th?
Be thereabouts within like 90 days, won't be exact, but it'll be around January. 16th.
Yeah. We'll get them the resolution, and as long as we can get everything in play, may end up in January, because I just don't think they're gonna have the time frame right now. But at least we've got this scheduled.
And we could do our half
Yes,
prior to,
yes.
we need to have it out.
Okay.
I will second that motion.
Okay.
All in favor?
Yeah.
Okay, so 6.4 Municipal Planning Commission.
Yeah. So under The municipality updated the land use bylaw 18622 and under bylaw 18722 established development authority to include a municipal planning commission, yes. Previous land use bylaw 17319 only had the development authority and did not include a provision for an MPC. So variances was under the development officer authority and then SDAB. A formal bylaw for the MPC was not developed and passed upon the approval of the other bylaws in 2022. And as such, and presenting a formal bylaw as per legislative and procedural requirements. And then I've listed the MGA sections on why you need a bylaw. And I've listed our bylaws as per our procedural bylaws. So what I am proposing is that bylaw number 209-24 is presented for first reading. I'm also, if there's any changes that council or amendments you wish to see on this bylaw prior to doing any further readings, or you can proceed with all three readings to the proposed bylaw. Let's start this one.
The bylaw for the MPC can be added to later
You can also bring it back and amend
as
it.
far as what our parameters would be.
Currently, the way I drafted this bylaw was so that it sets it up to what currently we're doing.
Yeah,
But it can be amended, brought back. You can add members at large. If you wish to make the committee larger than council, you can go to a 5. That's up to council at any point in time.
yeah, and it also, I was reading somewhere where some municipalities, which we used to have, the development office had 10%, but that was taken away. So then I should have copied what I was reading. So then it said an NPC can go actually up to 25%. And I don't know whether I found that in municipal government act or whatever, but I guess the main thing is this has to be done. And we can always make them kind of changes down the road. Because we don't want to have conflict with the development officer either.
So this formalizes the practice.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
So it lays out the conditions of how the committee functions, which is clear to anybody who asks any questions on what's an MPC. This is what an MPC's committee is, and this is how it functions.
In a nutshell, the NPC gets advice from the development officer on a variance or something that's not quite right. Comes to MPC, the councillors then make a decision. It can then be further appealed to an appeal board, but it's not, that is the decision.
Correct.
Yeah, and
And an MPC doesn't have to all be made up of council either. It is your call. It's in the bylaw. You can change that bylaw to have members at large if you wish, but they still is always following the bylaw.
yeah, and you can override the land use bylaw as well.
Which is,
But the thing is, if we get an appeal, like it's the same thing with the assessment appeal. So it's kind of another step, the MPC is another step, so it doesn't go all the way to the appeal board, because that appeal board actually,
there are additional costs.
like they said anymore from $4,000 to $6,000 something.
For something quite simple.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll move that.
Are you in favor of Paul? Did you hear all that?
Yeah, I did. I'm in favor of respect of concerns with taking this. I guess the talk was, do we do it as a first reading or do all 3 readings? I'm not sure I fully understand all the details of that, how that works, but I am comfortable with the wording of this bylaw right now.
So you can do first reading and wait if you wish. it all depends on what council's prerogative is to allow for people to have more time with it. Or you can do all three readings, but you do the first and second, then you have to unanimously agree with a motion. And then you can go on to third, and it puts it in play once it's in the third.
The reason for the 3 readings, Paul, is that if you have further questions or that you need administration to go out and find information, or you personally want to do some research on any bylaw, it allows you for that sober second thought and third thought. And it's just spacers, if you will, that give you the time. If it's a decision that you have no problem with, then you can do all 3 in the same time.
It's not like it's not input periods or something like that.
Bylaws require it where motions do not. So that's the only real difference.
There are certain bylaws, you're right, that require public input, but that would depend on land use ones definitely require a public hearing and public input.
Okay, and like government and, you know, we can do the 3 readings, put it in place, but we can always come back and revisit it. Not working anyway, so.
Yeah, and I think, Paul, that's important because of the fact that we have to have this to set the NPC.
Officially set the MPC, so you know what your committee is doing.
Yeah. So, first reading, I'll make a motion for first reading.
More motions to do first.
All in favor?
Yeah.
Yes.
I'll make a motion for the second reading unless there's any further discussion. Paul, are you okay with that? Okay, I'll make a motion for the second.
In favor?
All in favor, yup.
Yeah.
Yes.
Ready for the third reading at this point in time as well.
Okay, so we want to do the motion to unanimously agree to proceed for third reading.
Yes.
All in favor?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then who's making the third reading?
That was the third reading.
No.
Unanimously go to third reading. Now we have.
I will make a motion. And final reading.
Those 4 motions that come to the bylaw.
Bylaw is now entrenched. All in favor? Yes. Okay, done.
Okay, thank you.
Moving right along.
The golf cart, information. Basically what, Melissa did was put some information together for it. And I think probably, that what could happen is that we can make a decision on what direction to go and then, table it until we get some more information what our decision is going to be on. So the one part, is that we can consider drafting our own, similar to the Cone County. And then doing a separate bylaw for off-highway vehicles, because they're not, because it's a 5-year pilot project for the golf carts, it pretty well has to be a separate bylaw, right?
Yes, the pilot project golf carts would have to be a separate, and it has to be based on the 5-year pilot project.
Yeah.
Just like Lacombe County did. Should there be, I think, my recommendation would be, you should authorize us to draft it so that we can bring it to the next meeting, and I think you should, once you review it, maybe go for consultation like some of the other summer villages have to get more input from the public, like we can post it for the holiday time, get more feedback, bring it back. And then you can decide if you want to stay with what's there or if there's adjustments you want to make. But it would allow people that option before we come to the final and then forward it to the minister.
Yeah, and I think probably the thing about what Macomb has done, and they took it on right after, like, a couple of weeks after the legislation was produced in June. And you can bet that they had a lot of help from attorneys putting that together. You can just tell them meeting that there's stuff in there that we that we don't have to spend money on the attorney.
So, so just a bit of background, province put together a pretty, the basic guidelines of what's required and what they will allow that we have to follow. There's minimums, there's minimum requirements. And then each jurisdiction then can make some adjustments to those, but they still have to meet the basics. Signage, age, that sort of thing.
And those have budget implications too.
Correct.
So,
And so while there is about 8 jurisdictions now that have this gone to the province for approval, nobody has implemented this yet. So there is no implementation, so there's no learnings to be had. So we don't know whether did this work for Lacombe County, did this work for Whispering Hills, Sylvan Lake, Roshan? I think that all we can really do is advise or request that administration bring forward a draft bylaw based on, I would base it on both county and 1 or 2 summer villages as well, because we do have some unique. I know there's requirements like speed limits. You can't put this on a highway, that sort of thing. So I would be strongly. One of the things I would like to see considered is operating licenses and permitting, and the permitting would cover off insurance requirements. So that has been done by some of these others with looking at risk management and what is the risk if we pass this, what is the risk to the community in case somebody got hurt or something. But the insurance, I believe, was Insurance Bureau of Canada was still reviewing some of the stuff.
yeah.
So I think that the best we can do is get a draft coming forward for this December and get that information.
And
There's a lot of information out there.
if council's okay, I'd like to continue referring to the Macomb County and Summer Village of Parkland Beach because they were seeking public comments. So I'm kind of think that there's gotta be a balance somewhere there that we could draft. And then you can decide if you want to get any public comments out.
I would also like to see what Roshan Sands has in that where similar we're on the same lake. I would like to harmonize our 2 programs so that there's at least that similar.
Yeah, and that's where.
So those 3 for sure.
Yeah, they were looking at locals too.
Yep.
And I'm in agreement with the same thing. There are a number of summer villages and other communities. So, I don't want to make too much work, but I think just even a quick scan of a selection of other communities as well that have done their bylaws and see how they're handling the insurance, the operator's age, that sort of thing. I do agree that I think we would be wise to address those things in our bylaw.
Yeah, and I do, like with the legislation that came out, you can always make it more stringent, but you cannot take away what's there.
Like the minimum age requirement, you can't change it.
There's a lot, whatever's in there, whatever the rules they made, you have to make sure you follow that. And I don't know, Melissa, more off-highway vehicle separate bylaw. you want to just leave it for now, like if you load your plate too full.
I would prefer, because all highway vehicles are dealt with through Alberta Transportation. They've already got the act, so why wouldn't we just update our transportation bylaw so it fits better and add OHVs into it? And work within the guidelines they already have in the act.
I would say leave it for the transportation.
So I think
Yeah.
we should direct me to do OHVs in the transportation bylaw and update that for the community.
You have to, I know, there is some places where they have routes, for example, for snow machines. To follow, to get to on the lake or grounds. Whether that is something that should be looked at too, I don't have no idea.
I will go through the transportation bylaw and make sure that we're working within the Alberta Transportation Act and where we have to meet their guidelines. It's just like the pilot project golf cart. There's the minimums and we have to meet those. And then if you want to do more, that's where you'll review.
And we can't circumvent the provinces on.
No.
Correct.
But I know like in Monterey to get out of the village of Monterey, there's a certain way that people. It's for safety, it's because they don't want all of the streets, the snow machines.
Yeah.
Not so much.
Usually in the Transportation Act, you are allowed to go the fastest route out.
Oh, we can bring that
And
forward.
we all make sure that we incorporate in.
Okay, so what kind of a motion?
So I'm guessing two motions, one for the pilot and one for the transportation.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was thinking alternative 1 and 3 would be the resolution. to have.
Yeah.
What we're adding motions for.
Road and, mention the third one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I should review
Parkland Beach.
Parkland Beach.
Road channel.
And meet with those then to present the box.
Yeah.
To authorize administration to draft a pilot project development bylaw similar to the Macomb County Parkland Beach and Ocean Sands pilot project development bylaw and bring back to the next regular council meeting of December 11th, 2024.
Yes.
I'll make that motion.
Is your turn. Second. Or the beginning.
No, we just need a motion.
Favor?
Yes.
Second motion to, put the off-highway vehicle bylaw under a transportation review.
How about to, council to authorize administration to draft a new updated traffic bylaw that includes OHVs.
Does our current traffic bylaw have 30 kilometer? So 50, so we would need to ensure that that was part of the new one.
And that's why we need to draft a new one. And we're gonna rescind the old one.
The one we have
We need it more comprehensive.
is 1980.
Yeah.
We had to make that at that time, because that's when we were incorporated, and that was part of the.
Transportation. It's part of transportation.
You can't do it without doing it there. Yeah. Thanks.
Okay, so I have by whoever decides to understand, authorize administration to draft a new transportation bylaw that includes OHVs and speed limits and bring back to the next regular council meeting on December 11th.
Need
To
some,
include OHVs, skip the speed limits, because that will be in.
That is-
implementation.
Yeah. Just want to make sure it's not.
It'll also adapt to how we do things now, permits, things like that. Larger vehicles.
Okay. To authorize administration to draft a new transportation bylaw that includes OHVs and bring back to the next regular council meeting on December 11th, 2024.
Yes.
So number 3 says does not include, we want to change that to includes.
Yes.
Okay.
I don't know why. I apologize.
need that motion,
I made the motion, now you get the vote on. Dan,
Dan did it, okay, all in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay. Apex Municipal Franchise Fee Agreement. We haven't done this in the past. And I guess what it basically is, collect money, or they collect money on behalf of the village to everybody that has a gas hookup. And it's not a whole bunch of revenue, but some people do, some municipalities do, so. What's the skinny?
Okay, so the reason you have these franchise agreements, and they do come in handy. So the reason you have these franchise agreements, and they do come in handy, because we had a quote from Apex when we were doing the Front Street Road widening, and if we didn't have these agreements in place, the quote was for about 14,000, but with the agreement, they set a cost price. So we get a reduced cost price for construction, and so it came in at 7,000. That's a huge change. So it limits how they charge us if we need to have things moved or relocated. So these agreements they work in two ways as a benefit to the municipality. So the one is we get reduced costs put back on us. And then there's annually in this agreement, you are allowed to review franchise fees, which a lot of municipalities do it as an extra source of revenue. So it's a consideration. This municipality has not applied a franchise fee currently. So I recommended to you guys to just leave it at that for now. And then something you can review again next fall. And so, but we do have to update the agreement. So that is why this bylaw is here, asking for first reading and initialing of the agreement. But it is for your consideration. You can collect franchise fees, which is an additional revenue, so you don't have to burden the taxpayers, but it is burdening the taxpayers, so.
The utility bills.
Yeah,
Yes.
and it's going on all.
So it's at all around, like, Apex Utilities, natural gas, is the service provider for the village. Like, I guess what I'm asking for is there any, beyond the franchise fee question, is there any, due diligence that we need to do to make sure that, the residents are getting the best possible pricing on their fixed fees? Like, I know.
No, that's out. That's out of our control, because even this is out of our control. We can do first reading. And then we're gonna do an initial, but it still has to go out, and there's gotta be advertising done, and then it has to go back to the Alberta Utilities Commission.
I think what Paul was asking is there a second and third company that we can make a contract with, or Apex is it?
Apex.
Okay, there's no other options. Doesn't like Transamerica are doing the work.
Exactly, they just changed their name.
So then the agreement, we need to put agreement in place to offset some future costs. But the franchise fee it just becomes a tax to the taxpayers, and it's just another, that Calgary does it, most smaller jurisdictions do not.
Stettler does, Stettler County does it, Lacombe County does it. A lot of municipalities actually do it. This is the first municipality that I know, and Roshan Sands are zero.
Charles zero as well. So,
Yeah.
Okay, so first reading.
So first thing I want you guys to do is council to authorize maintaining the current franchise fee percentage at 0 in the renewal agreement for another 10 years. So that's the term, and to have mayor and CAO initial the agreement. So that's the first.
I think from my perspective, I think keeping it up here was probably the right option, but I just wanted to have all of the information. So, if we did have a franchise fee, similar to say what you said, Stettler and Macomb County and whichever other ones you mentioned there, what sort of dollar amount would we be talking about each year? And not that I like the idea of like hiding revenue, but are we set that this is not something that we want to go on, or we were just talking about seeing a lot of municipalities are doing tax increases this year, so should we make 100% sure that we don't want to change what we've been doing in the past on this one?
Does it tie us in 10 years?
No, it's in the agreement, there's the clause that they will come back and they will ask you again in September whether you want to charge the fee, and they'll give you the fee table and we can do a comparison of your percentages.
You have a,
Whether we say 0 right now or pick something right now, looking at this again within a year.
Yeah. So what we can do is council authorize maintaining the current franchise fee percentage of 0% for 2024. Because we're almost done anyway.
Mhm.
And in the renewal agreement,
That's that analysis of what sort of revenue the franchise fee would be for. So we'll get into our budget discussions later on.
I can bring you that.
Can you also get us some information on out of the 400 and whatever, or 203, I don't know what the number is, but the number of active lots and which ones have gas and which ones don't, do we know
Well,
that? Because that's kind of what, if you put a feed out in, it would only be collected from the people that have gas, correct?
yeah.
yeah.
So then people that don't.
You have something here to do.
That's good. Well,
Yeah, delivery of revenues rates one now. Yeah,
The bylaw, and then there's a schedule A, and right after that, there's a letter from them.
so it'll tell you 2023 actuals on their delivery of revenues. And then it tells you the 2025 estimates, and then revenue rates, delivery revenues, where if we had the franchise fee, would be based on those actual numbers of their revenues.
So if you put 1%, it would now be,
Yes.
Yeah.
1,720.
Correct.
Move the decimal point 2 points, okay.
Yeah.
So if you put 1%, it would be 17. If you put 10%, it would be 17,000.
Yeah.
then that is not a significant straight.
Correct. And I can bring you more information on that for your budget discussions for the next year if you wanted to think about it over the year.
So then another question is, it's a flat fee or usage fee.
It's a flat fee.
for everybody that has gas.
Yeah, it's specific on our,
Yes. As a percentage.
yes.
Delivery.
Okay.
Helpful to set that information when we're doing our budget stuff, but yeah.
Yeah.
That sounds like a motion.
So let's do. Yeah.
Okay, and then the second motion you're saying,
So what have you got?
I think authorize to keep the current franchise fee at 0%.
For 2024 and renew the agreement for another 10 years. And then mayor and CAO will initial the agreement. Initial, because it has to go through the parliament. Mission has to. So, and then we would need first reading of the bylaw. Bylaw or the
I made that.
Oh, you made that.
Okay. Dan or Paul?
Paul,
Paul,
you made that motion, right, Paul?
Paul then. Okay.
I will read it again to authorize to keep the current franchise fee at 0% for 2024 and renew the agreement for another 10 years, and Mayor Azia will initial the agreement.
Can we make that 2024 and 2025 because we won't be discussing this until September?
Okay.
There you go, added. Okay, and then now I can motion to be.
First reading of bylaw 20824. That's one.
You need one to advertise it too. You need a motion.
I would like, because they want all this information, so I just thought, okay, you guys can approve that Apex will advertise the renewal on the East Central Alberta Review newspaper, and the details are provided.
Well, we request that Apex.
Perfect, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Newspaper and local.
Put their name on it, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, or do you want to read it back?
Did you move the first reading?
Yes.
Okay, now I'm just making sure. Okay, moved by Mayor Thurston to request Apex to advertise in the East Central Review newspaper, and will provide details.
Yes.
All in favor?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's all of it. Okay. The next one is a renewal. Do you guys need me to go through the whole RFP, or did you read it?
No, we are fine. We haven't used them for a number of years.
And this has been an appeal process.
Yes, and it's a legislative requirement to the MGA, so there is going to be a slight increase, but it's locked in for 3 years, so that's how our agreement has been, which kind of sets it easier for budgeting purposes.
So this budget cost would be assuming that there are no appeals, because there are additional costs. There are appeals, correct?
Correct.
Yeah,
As Laura said, this hasn't happened for a long time, so it's not what you would expect to be a regular thing.
We would hope not, never guarantee, but in the cities, it happens all the time. It's just in the smaller municipalities. It is kind of rare because we usually direct and try to work with our property assessor, and they usually work through everything with the property owner.
yeah, well, generally in the past, that's what's happened, is that the assessor does a reassessment of the property and see if it's out of whack, and then goes to comparable properties around, and if there's a place to have it being moved, then he meets with the landowner and then usually settle it.
Okay. It's good.
So I'm looking for council to approve renewing the Capital Region Assessment Services Commission participant memorandum of agreement for the period of 2025 to 2027. It's a minimum fee of 900 plus a parcel fee of 35 cents, based on parcels that are eligible to file a complaint.
I'll move that.
I'll second that.
Okay, and just kind of for your information, there was someone that did not agree with the assessor that went to that board. It could cost us well over $2,000 basic.
Yeah.
It's really expensive.
Or you didn't vote.
All in favor?
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, 7.4, your Parkland Regional Library. Hear me now, Paul? Okay. Okay. So we did have a member at large application that we received when we posted the ad. Unfortunately, that person that applied is employed by Parkland Regional Library, so they can't. They're ineligible, yes. So I did reach out to the village of Alex to see if their council representative would be interested in acting as our representative, and they have agreed. So
I think that, you know, us being a summer village and Alex being a regular village, you know, there may not be totally aligned interests in some of the funding distributions or anything like that. And I don't know. I'm open to what Dan and Lauren's thoughts are, but you know, I don't think it's a big lift for one of us to take this on. So I think I would rather keep it in the village if we don't have a member at large that we, you know, council take it up rather than outsource it to Alex.
that is council discussion to have.
I think probably, well, with the budget that came from the library, I had some disagreement on that. But also, I don't know, Paul, if we've never had a member from council or the village go to them meetings in Macomb. The usage of the Parkland Regional system is, of course, the library in town. And it's pretty well set up. It would be like a one drop-in service that would be pretty well the same on all the municipalities that belong. And so there's 64 of them actually that are in the Parkland Regional Library System. I'm just kind of thinking that as far as we go, I don't know if there would be too much of a problem.
Okay, so I think it's together the last on the board.
Well, we were actually absent for a while, and then we had a counselor from Donaldo was looking at sitting on the board for us.
The municipality has had the village of Denalda act as a representative. Unfortunately, the village of Denalda is going through some interesting issues. So when I reached out to the village of Alex, I thought, well, if we could fill it in for now until the next election in August, we could appoint the member that did apply. I did ask her to reapply then, because she would fit.
So this is a mandatory legislative requirement that we.
No.
It is actually.
Is it now?
Because under the act, you are part of this regional system, you must have somebody appointed to it.
Oh, I didn't know that. I mean,
That's why I'm discussing. It
yeah.
didn't make a lot of sense to me to.
Yes.
But also, do we have to belong? No. It's a system where I don't know how many people are using it within the village. I know my Kathy is. some other folks that are.
I think it's because you will be requisitioned whether you sit on that board or not. Do you want to have?
Oh, but we could get out, we don't have to belong to the part-time.
I think we do,
Yes,
Mandated?
mandated legislative.
and you have signed an agreement when you created this system. Yeah.
It's almost like my own school board without having kids.
Yeah, it's a requisition. So having a member on the board to act on your behalf is, or at least attend, so you're well aware. That's what you want.
But what I'm saying is, if you decided to leave the part-time regional, and it says, and it was the way it was before, is if anybody wanted to use the system, they go to Starter and they would pay for an annual card. Since we belong to the group, no one has to pay, and the charge is $30 a year, and they would get the same service. And it would be the same as if there's people from out of town that are maybe using the system could go and use the library for $30 and buy a card.
So we're currently paying $1,239.
Yeah, but
They want an increase to 17 for one or possibly two people that would have to go and get a $30.
well, that's my point.
It might be.
How much is it being used, and we can certainly, I'm sure we can pull off it. Unless there's
I
not.
can review the act and bring you back.
Can we get that information? Yeah, I think I would like to find out whether it is in fact something that we are legislated to attend and to pay. Because we don't really have a library, we have to take it or leave it.
And I can add the concept there and the Alberta library loan system that I can go into any library in Alberta, sign out books with my Calgary library card. Is the deal they got. So I've done that before, signed out books in St. Albert, signed out books in Stettler, and you can just register with your Calgary library card. So you don't have to be part of, if you're part of any library in Alberta, you can do that. So that's for out of towners that do have a library card somewhere else.
I do know in most municipalities, there's always been a requisition for providers.
Well, I'm just, it kind of, the way the requisition came together this time kind of burns me anyway. Because it's not, what they say in here is not true. Now that so what they did, they used the provincial populations, but then they've got Stats Canada in our requisition, not the provincial. And they say in that bullet on page 60, now that we're being updated, switching back to municipal affairs population, this instead of the Treasury Board estimates for involving municipality. So that put us from 135 to 174. So our requisition is going from $1,200 to $1,800.
Yeah, because they're making a switch from the treasury board.
But they got the switch wrong.
Back to municipal affairs.
Well,
Yeah, I was wondering that too. Why are those two numbers so different? I don't really
because
understand.
the Treasury Board would be Stats Canada, no?
I don't think so.
Anyway, if you can figure that one out.
I think we need to direct the
Please, no.
administration to get more information on both whether there's a requirement and what those numbers are. Like,
Just curious, those numbers would probably be reflective of just permanent residents, is that right?
Well,
Yeah.
permanent,
Yeah, it's not based on your properties, because your properties are 406.
It's the population.
It's the population that lives here all the time.
But before, when it was first done, person would take their, tax form in there to get their card number, and then take the tax from White Sands. And you got the card. So permanent doesn't necessarily. But anyway, I'm just burned because we're going up, that's a lot of percentage in our acquisition. And how much is it being used? And so off that $30 card, there's also a discount for $5.06. So it's 25 bucks a year for someone to do. If they want to do it themselves.
Yes.
But maybe we can get out legislated in. It sure as hell wasn't before because we voluntarily joined.
I'll have to re-review the agreement, but when I talked to them, you need to have somebody. Because it's part of the requisition.
Well, it's things belong, but we don't belong to the Parkland Regional, like if we pull out of the library system, we won't have a requisition.
And I'll have to review how we can pull out of the system, because you do
Right.
have an agreement in place.
It is now.
I don't know, that's, we need to find out.
Yeah.
If we can get out of it, I don't see the purpose of it.
But it's not gonna happen overnight.
No, but for example, if, like, we could, if someone was really interested in it, the village could put something towards someone's card if they wanted to get it, and it would save us a pile, not a pile of money, but the way this requisition is going, that isn't right.
I know the act is provincial. The Libraries Act is, the province has mandated the Libraries Act, so I'm not gonna say we can't get out of it, but I'm thinking there's gonna be a lot more red tape than we think.
It could be just, sorry to go on about this, but it just,
It's the other Libraries Act.
so on their chart here, it says Treasury Board population estimates, and ours is 135. That was for 2024. 2024.
Was one, that if they stuck with the same, which is what I have in the report here, that when they based it on that, the Treasury Board estimates from 2022 were 135. Municipal affairs population list for 2023 now is 174.
From 2024, 2025.
Right.
And the municipal affairs population list is not 174. That is Stats Canada. So
Why
this,
should it be different, or where do
because it's been such a screw up with our population. We used to use the census, and it's old, so it was 120. And then the provincial government had a system of making it more because growth wasn't there. We haven't had a census in a while. So then they used about 135. And then it happened that anybody that charges us per capita uses revenue or Stats Canada, which is 174. And it's just, it's just costing us money, and we don't know what our actual population is.
So that's Canada not based on the census?
Yes,
It's a screw up.
but they must use projections.
And to be honest with you, if you go on Stats Canada website, we have a lot of population in here that are not, it's not right. I was on the phone for half a day trying to figure this out. And finally, the guy said at the end of the back and forth was, you're gonna have to just wait until we have the new one come.
Or you can do your own census. You learned in that training session, that's not an easy process. It costs a lot of money to do your census to determine whether you have 135 or 120. And it's not, it wasn't worth the process in my mind, it wasn't worth the process.
So I'm on the Alberta Regional Dashboard. And according to this, it says the population's going up.
85 now. Oh, we're growing.
Who's having babies?
Yeah.
So. It's, Stats Canada makes sense to be the source of the number. I mean, like if we, I mean, obviously, we want to pick and choose the best number for any given decision that we're doing, but that's not really practical. So, like, would we agree that Stats Canada is the best source of, if not truth, but the best thing that we got?
I don't think we have that. We can't determine that. That is determined by, whoever's charging you. They'll either charge you via the Stats Canada number or the municipal affairs number or whatever number they want to do. We don't have a whole lot of choice. That's what they determine their requisition based on.
And that's what they're providing is that in 2024, they had based the requisition on Treasury Board population estimates of 2022. So this year for 2025, they are moving to municipal affairs population list from 2023, which says the billing population is 174.
So we can find out where municipal affairs gets that number. Can we do that?
A lot of matches with Stats Canada.
Yeah. Stats Can says 174 and now municipal affairs is saying 174. So they're matching.
So, I guess where I'm getting at is it says on page 53 of our notes that the next meeting of the Parkland Library Board is on November 14th, tomorrow.
You betcha.
Where the results of the vote on this budget will be reviewed. So, if we want to have a say in this one right now, we essentially have until tomorrow. And so we can either say, yes, we agree with this budget, or no, because we don't agree with that population count. But, if we...
And that's the direction I'm looking for from you guys, so I can get the letter out and email it today. Is, do you agree? Or then with the representative who will be attending because they are also, the Village of Alex is also the vice chair. So
I guess, Paul, when you brought up that comment earlier, it does matter that we have our own in this part.
Either way, this is not a huge part of the budget, but it is something to keep in mind if we are not really being actively represented, that we're kind of giving up our voice on that, unless we step away completely if we're allowed to do that. But I don't know. Alex's budget for this year, if I go to page, 63, so hard to read, but they're fairly flat in their budget from 2024 to 2025.
Their population.
Their population.
Yes.
Yeah, sure. That's fine.
Yeah, and that's why ours went up, because a lot of the larger ones went down too, because of the change in the system.
Yeah.
Like from Clearwater County and like.
No, we don't like it, based on just the number of the population. But I guess what I'm just trying to understand is, where do we stand on using the municipal affairs, which is based on Stats Canada, or somewhere else? But I'd like us to be consistent in that this is the number that we're going with, and not cherry pick based on whether we want a high number or a low number of what we do. I mean, that's not really a business practice I want to encourage. So
Yeah,
that's why I'm wondering, like, what do we do we think is the best source of truth, and then we should take that,
I agree.
agree with that, you know?
Our population should be fed and everybody should agree to it. Why the hell do we have three? That really is something. And as far as the library thing, Melissa can look into it, whether we can get out of it or not, and make the public think like that. But it is just something, it just doesn't seem right in my head that it's all over the place, and maybe I'm making too big a deal out of it.
So I guess
All the time about it.
I think, let's take a step back here for 2 seconds. The first thing is, do you want somebody to be at that meeting tomorrow and have something to say that you have directed, this is where you stand? So if you do appoint only for this 1-year term until the next term comes up, so that gives you time to bring back the information that you guys are looking for on how to get out of this. Are we able to get out of it? And what's all the legislative requirements?
I would agree, and then also if we get in, our own board member there, we're gonna have to take the meeting.
That's correct,
She lives in Macomb, so it's not a problem.
right, but we will have to look at that.
That would be at expense, and maybe, I don't know how often they meet.
So at this point, I have recommended to put this person as a representative for the 1 year. Till we go to our next elections and appoint organizational appointments.
Organizational, yeah, we'll know about that.
And to give her a response on the next issue. And I will get that to her today.
We need to formally deny the increase.
I would say that would be your best approach if you disagree with it.
We don't agree with it, so let's formally deny the increase
So.
based on per capita. We can always find out what happens. We might get outvoted and we'll get a bill from the full.
Yeah,
This is a protest vote of sorts.
Exactly. Increase as per capita or.
Just as number two, just as it's. That's what denying.
So that would be your first thing, and then you should appoint deputy mayor.
55.
And then if you appoint this lady, I'm gonna let her all your ring for a letter directly to her.
Well, I can't attend tomorrow, and that's the one, Paul can't attend tomorrow. So if we want to have any representation, we would need to. Either that or we appoint somebody of our own, like us, and miss the first meeting.
We can always change appointments.
Do you have to be present to vote against the budget, or can we provide the vote by mail?
I am providing the vote today to them.
Can you attend remotely?
I can't have to be a representative.
One of us attend.
Like, did they do that or something?
Yeah, they can. I can send you the link. I'll be linked to them because I have nobody I can appoint. I didn't have any way to book anybody.
Paul, would you step up to this one on this committee for the term, and could you attend via Zoom if possible tomorrow?
Likely, yes.
Okay.
So yeah, I would rather have Paul in there than this vice chair. Thank you, Paul.
Yeah, are you
Do
sure?
we know what time the meeting is at, and is it, are we confirming that it can be attended remotely?
I am gonna do everything I can this afternoon, once we get this meeting done, to get you everything, get you registered and do what I can to make sure we have everything you need and forward them.
And if it isn't possible, then, Melissa will let you know when we can.
But at least if I have a motion that council appoints Counselor Paul.
Be a representative for the regional library for the Sacramento White staff for this term.
Yes.
And also that we deny the increase.
Yes, I have that one. Then I put that under 7.5 on the budget, moved by Councilor Zemble to formally deny the increase as per capital representation for the Parkland Regional Library proposed 2025 budget.
I'd like them in two separate resolutions.
And then do you want the third resolution back to having admin review Parkland Regional Library Agreement, Alberta Libraries Act, and the numbers used for population and bring back to the next regular council meeting? Sorry. Yeah, for sure. So the first one was to move to appoint Councillor Ashford to be a representative at the Parkland Regional Library for the Somerville to White Sands for this term. That was motion one. Second motion is moved by Councillor Zemble to formally deny the increase as per capita representation for the Parkland Regional Library proposed 2025 budget. And the third motion is moved by, not sure yet, to have administration review the Parkland Regional Library Agreement, Alberta Libraries Act, and the numbers used for population and bring back to the next regular council meeting on December 11, 2024.
And then reading the libraries have to be, is it mandatory or optional that we're part of it primarily, right?
Yeah, so if it's mandatory or optional.
I'll move which end, one of those which has been moved already.
All doing the first.
Okay. For to administration. That one, and then after that, I put Alberta Libraries Act to review if it's mandatory or optional, and the numbers used for population and bring back to the next regular council meeting.
All in favor?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so all in favor on all three?
Sure.
motions?
Yeah.
Thanks, David. Thanks. Oh, yeah.
Who wanted to do it? Who will be appointing Councillor Ashford? Who's moving on?
I'll nominate that.
Recommend? Okay, that's one, and then thank you. Good, all right. Council reports.
Okay. We are, by the time that's done, we're into the reports. May I ask for a short recess to go to the washer?
You said
Sure.
5 minutes recess. Oh,
Five, okay? 5 minutes.
okay.
I'm gonna go get a blanket.
So far. Hey, Lauren? Yeah.
It doesn't got no trees, but I want this little home right now, and so.
Here's the illegal hunt in the wilderness with this part of firearm.
It's recording right now.
Well, definitely yours are reading, so I wonder when we can get this.
Like, you can hear very well. That was your. And. So we're using the phone and. There, yeah, okay. Okay. still have 4 more minutes. 4 minutes, I don't know, do you guys need 4 minutes?
All,
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, you got two, you now have 3 minutes.
I'm gonna shiver here in a second, so might as well.
Conserving energy.
When I first came in, it was cold.
What's that? That house is really is not.
Thanks.
All they fixed it. The new one, we're doing the new one, but it has, like, all of them now have condensate,
Yeah, they
and this one doesn't. So that's a real bonus with the holding tank.
Condensate.
Well, I did one in the house. And, it was construction time, but it 10 gallon. But it's not
I just drank.
the amount as much as that it trickles down the line. It's growing. And then it melts up by hand. It's freezing. But Ken Burt's had a heat tape down the sewer with the cap on. Yeah, I think if I had to change furnaces, I'd put in a sump pump so all ran at once kind of deal. One exclusion instead of trickling out. I'm actually surprised that that's because it's pathetic, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah, limestone.
Yep, there you go.
You there, Paul?
Yeah, back here.
Resuming 11:40.
So we're on. Council report, I don't know.
Cancel, so that your is there one.
Yeah, with a bunch of stuff again, but I will just go through it quickly. And Melissa, some of this you already have. Has been brought up, but it's tightening up sign bylaw. So, for example, someone can't put a piece of plywood out in the middle of the rural sign. There was land use bylaw change there, but I got that done.
Yeah, signs usually fall under land use bylaw and that's under.
Yeah, and the truck fill, we still haven't got that road closed.
That is coming.
Yeah, it's long. Like it's been,
We have to redo the whole bylaw.
probably been 8 years.
Yeah, we have to redo the whole bylaw to get minister's signature.
Which one's that one?
Well, they already have, they have a bylaw.
We're gonna have to redo the bylaw because you need to do your first reading. We have to do our advertising and then we have to send it off for minister's signature, bring it back after the minister signs off. And then you can do your second and third.
Right. But we did do that already.
Right, but a bylaw should be after a certain time frame. We're gonna have to review it, redo it. Yeah,
We did a resolution first and that was,
because you can't do it by resolution first.
yeah, we were told by fire that we could. Okay,
We were going to review the process.
Where's that road closure again supposed to be at?
where the truck fill is sitting right on top.
And any road to close it must have approval by transportation.
Okay, the fire,
We were white transportation, other transportation.
fire advisory meetings are starting again. And Dan's, you can't zoom into them now.
No, I'll be attending in person.
Shirley McClellan, debenture. Just want to kind of keep our eyeballs on when they do the funding. And I'll find them, because that's, so we fund the Shirley McClellan through Alberta Capital Finance. And the only time you can pay your debenture off is when it's refinanced. And so there's that line going to Ball and Roseland. And so that would be the time of council. So
Venture number 6 is under the MSI grant. I thought that discussed and it's there. And that will come into the budget discussions when we know more.
So the only debenture we got right now is the main line that was put in, line number 1 from Stella Transfer Station to west, east of Concert. First line that was done. It's the only debenture we have, and it's about 57,000 left on it.
I provided that in your organizational package, so all that information is in there.
Was phase 6 in CPR?
Hmm.
Was phase 6 for the debenture for grants, is that CCBF?
Can't be in CCBF.
Those are those.
Yeah.
I couldn't remember. These are-
So, Trent Street road widening is done, and obviously the spray of grass has been sprayed back on there. And then they buried all the choke cherry and Saskatoon roots back in with the black dirt, so if we get some moisture, they'll come back. There's been lots of really good comments on it. The only negative is that the brush is all gone. It'll come back.
Actually, there wasn't positive, but it was a little late. I said we could have went and took more trees out closer to their property.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm done now.
We wanted to put on the budget. Council talked about Paul brought it up, a backboard for the second post up on the first one up on by the playground. New backboard, so I phoned Tom Colt, and the load itself, the same as what's on the new ones, is 788.
Yeah.
Is how much, sorry?
788.30.
Yeah.
So that's just the way.
The budget.
Did you have any talk with Monty Malash about that hotel sketch?
He's never contacted us. Yeah. We directed him to contact me, he's never called, emailed, I've been waiting, because it needs to be a budget discussion with council.
Okay, I was requesting that we change January's meeting to the 3rd Wednesday instead of the 2nd Wednesday.
That would need to be a motion by council.
Well, I'll make that motion because I'm going to be in the air.
Okay. So Laura motions to change the January 2025 meeting from the 2nd Wednesday to the 3rd Wednesday. Same time.
I think it's probably a good idea too, because you said at the year end, you get nothing on, so we'll give you another week.
When we get back, we have to do closing of year end, then we want to get everything ready before we can put in any new stuff. Yeah.
So moving in January 8th and 15th, is that right?
Yep.
Okay, thanks. Buzz Anderson with the ramp.
I will bring that up in my letter.
Okay. And I know we had talked one time about office hours. Be maybe in the summer from Tuesday to Friday instead of Monday to Thursday.
Yeah, we can talk about that as we go into the budgets and see if we want to change the office hours, yeah.
You've got to just think about it, but I think it would be better for people coming to the lake in the summertime. Sometimes they come on Thursday night or whatever, and if you want to come to the office and you'll just a thought when we talk about it.
Lots to consider when we go on this is when
Okay, that's all for me.
Is the, I don't think to bring it up, but is there the potential to have somebody work Monday to Thursday and somebody work Tuesday to Friday? Is there a bit of overlap there, so the office could stay open longer?
we can look at that too. Yeah,
Will be any budget implications? Yeah, we can look at that.
Yep.
Just to give it more opening hours and, you know, I know that sometimes you need both of you, but sometimes you don't too.
That's all for me.
Am I next?
You're next.
I don't really have much other than, I am doing the first advisory meeting for the fire. We'll be attending that. The conference, I don't know if we've talked about that in council, but, that was very good. We talked about, we got a lot of good information. All three of us attended and, yeah, it was a very informative. Well, you know, just in what was presented, but also talking to some of the other players. One of the things that was brought up and that was interest is that some CAOs manage, between 4 and 6 summer villages, which was interesting that they were able to do that, and they have significant, bylaw officers and all of that as well. And then the cost of additional policing was horrendous. I think it was $250,000 or something like that. It's over 200,000 anyway per year. Some dedicated service and stuff like that. So that was good information to have. And then just like I said, just talking to some of the other counselors and CAOs, that was very informative. That's all. I didn't really have anything further to bring up.
Yeah, just speaking on that, policing, there's also, you could custom your own way along from there by the hour.
Yeah. There were some summer villages that weren't much larger than ours, that full time, and I was astounded. I kind of asked why. I asked one of the counselors why. It's like, you have 400 lots and you've got full time. Well, they park them on the hill. And I said, for what purpose? Well, to monitor the village. Anyway, it was kind of a weird thing. And I think they had a bylaw officer as well. Policed, but they may have some issues that I wasn't. Anyway, it's something that I certainly would want.
And the official administrator did advise us that some of these CAO, some of those summer villagers are suing the agencies that are running. So there's different issues.
Yeah, no, I can't remember, but I think there was 35 CAOs for 52 villages or something like that. So there were 5 super CAOs or something like 5 or 6. So that was just interesting. That was an interesting note that I imagine they have quite an admin process as well.
Yeah,
So
they got a big staff.
they got a big staff.
It's not all administrators.
Yeah.
It's all for
Anyway, Paul, I guess that's your turn.
So what's entirely, sort of like that, what we're talking about using these, but I'm prep for this. A couple of meetings of the boards that signed up for. Stettler Housing Authority had a board meeting October 24th. Key points, balance sheet, cash flow projections are looking solid. No real issues there. They have had a couple of union issues. They lost an arbitration case on a wrongful dismissal case. Had learnings to make sure they document everything and act sooner on the issues on that. They also kind of surprised me. They've had 3 workmen's compensation lost time claims since the last report, of which they are disputing that 2 of them are valid claims, but that struck me as kind of high. I'm not sure what the norms are in this sort of job, but 3 lost time accidents would normally not be considered very good. They did say it's been a long time since they had any, but they've had a flurry. But something that's a little bit of a concern to keep a watch on. I think of the most couple of important notes for the Stettler Housing Authority. There's an Alberta government announcement October 16th, creating a new continuing care provincial health agency, combining health with seniors and social services. I think they have uncertainty about what this means, potential to have some benefits combining it, but they're taking a wait and see approach for what this will really bring. It'll probably be over the next year that we'll find out more. And then this last week, they did declare a respiratory outbreak, flu and or COVID, at one of the homes, Paragon Place, on November 5th. So they got containment measures in place following Alberta Health Services and Centers for Disease Control protocols. Haven't seen any updates emailed out for the last 6 or 7 days, so hopefully they're getting that, they've got that contained and moving back to where they can go back to normal measures there. There's also a special meeting for the Stettler District Ambulance Authority November 1st, and that was passing 2 motions, one to extend the contract with AHS through to September 30th of 2026. The main point that they've been working on, that they got agreement on, was to there's a clause in there where Alberta Health Services can take over the ambulance authority, and the agreement that they made is that if that happens, that the AHS would pay for the value of the facilities at market value rather than book value, which would mean that the Stettler Authority would have enough cash to cover its end-of-life obligations, which are mainly severances. Otherwise, the contract funding is sufficient to cover operating expenses and any upgrades. Also ratified the collective agreement with the union, the Health Sciences Association of Alberta, unionized workers for the Ambulance Authority. And so this would be retroactive to April 1st, 2023, and it's through to September 30th, 2026. Long negotiation process. Both felt the union made significant concessions, and the SDAA bargaining committee was happy with what's been negotiated, primarily around how they handle core and flex shifts for the crews. HSAA members were currently voting on the tentative agreement for November 5th. So if they have voted yes, and in the meeting the board voted yes to the deal, then they'll have a deal in place. The SDAA felt that the agreement is financially viable with the funding that they get from DHS. Upcoming, so I'll have Stettler Housing Authority next board meeting on the 21st. And the next, the regular meeting of the September District Ambulance Authority is on December 9th. And Emergency Management Agency Board meeting December 10th. And then I guess perhaps this library board meeting tomorrow. And just looking for some feedback. Is this the level of detail that you want from the council updates, or is there things missing? And would it be better to provide this in writing before, or just speak to it verbally? Just looking for some feedback on that.
I think for reference and maybe for the public, it would be, maybe a report would be the way to go, but actually, like, you're pretty involved right away with all these meetings, and some of it that you have said there, like Dan and probably even administration don't know who goings on. So it's up to you, Paul, but I think it's good that you gave that kind of report.
The rundown details, good. No, that's really, and I don't know if we need it, well, I think that, well, you know, that information is valuable.
Yeah, I'm not.
What you guys feel like I provide a written report so that it's more transparent to the public. Would you feel comfortable providing a written report by the Wednesday prior to the week before, so that we could have that as a more transparent document for the public?
And I'm not trying to quickly type and write it and say, and get the information onto the minute.
Yeah, I guess the thing is with that, some of mine is just related to no interest in public.
Right,
Well, it might be.
but I think it might be. So, and it would be more transparent and it's clearly laid out there so that when it's trackable, if somebody decides, well, I didn't know anything about it, we can go back, we can pull. I don't know if that's something you guys are interested in. I think it's a great idea, but it is your business call.
I have a problem providing update ahead of time. I think, Ronnie, there's always things that, you just want to bring up outside of points in the written report.
Yeah, well,
everything would have to be in the report. And, and key things. I guess my question is also, what are the key things of interest? I mean, I mainly focused on the updates from the board meetings that I've attended. But you already kind of went into a few things that you're thinking of and working on, and went into here's key points from the conference, and I think those are valid things. But I'm just interested in guidelines on what sort of things to be in it. But I think we're there.
Yeah, I think definitely your committee board stuff is really key because those are the things that you're acting and appointed on.
Sure, yeah, we're reporting on the income.
I thought it was a good report. Very good.
Paul, could I ask you on the shifts for the EMS crews, did they do away with the flex altogether and just do 12-hour shifts?
Understanding of it, we have the core playing and 3% deal for 24 hours, and which better, we have a pretty big ambulance station, and essentially they're up to the day they're kind of on call. This is my understanding of it.
Okay. Yeah. I know that they were really looking for the other, but if possible, as well too.
Yeah, so I think that was some of the concession that was made.
Yeah.
I think there's some additional pay and there's some additional guidelines around ensuring that they have rest periods if they are out on, late call outs and that sort of thing.
Okay, thank you. Okay,
Do you want a motion to accept the reports as presented? Who wants to do it? Okay. So reports. No, you can vote on it.
all in favor?
Yes.
Sure.
Of accepting the reports as presented.
Right, Melissa.
Okay, I'm gonna quickly go through this. So I did an update for the basketball hoops for replacement installation that was completed at the 8 Front Street Park here in Jack's Pond. The cost was about $9,500, so the poles, backboard were $5,000. Total cost is covered under the CCBF grant. Tennis and pickleball courts were done in September 2023. That cost us $21,000, which was also covered under the CCBF. And in 2025, there will be discussions on new nets, the new backboard for the old one. So those are all things that will be discussed in 2025 budget. Front Street widening construction was completed. So that was completed based on the resolution to proceed with this project, so we wouldn't lose the CCBF unspent funding allocation that we were over 6 years. And if we hadn't spent it prior to November 1st, 2024, we were losing $92,967. And so the CCBF grant has been notified that we've completed the project, so we're good. And that is a split between CCBF and MSI, and the construction is coming in slightly under the budgeted amount of $130,000, including the engineer. The municipal office site is prepped for building installation. Pilings, power, water, gas, plumbing are all trenched in. The final will be completed once the building arrives. We have received our variance approval. We got that last week, and last Friday. So we got that approval. So now we are awaiting the paperwork from CSA, but we have also contacted CSA in regards to that to ask them if they can allow us to deliver this, as the paperwork will be coming through. So right now, the date is November 25th. We are trying to move this forward as fast as we can to get the building out here more next week, with the weather still holding up. But we got the variance, and the variance that we got is, so the code changed May 1st, 2024. The code made a change, so they reviewed our information, and the building is less than 500 meters squared and less than 5 employees. Therefore, it is deemed satisfactory that it is not necessary for this occupant to install power door operator to the universal washroom, which is a all one fits all. So we've got that where we don't need it, and it is deemed satisfactory that it is not necessary for this occupant to not provide a paved, so we don't have to provide a paved accessible parking stall. However, the stall shall be designated by a vertical sign. The ramp we will install once the building is here, so that was still good. So yeah, we got the approvals for the Government of Alberta Municipal Affairs, so we're on our way. And that's what the holdup was, is the variance, barrier-free, changed in May 1st, 2024, and the builder wasn't notified of that change when they did their first inspection prior to all of the walls going up. So office furniture required for the new office. So we bought an L-shaped desk, a hutch, a credenza, and 6 boardroom chairs and 2 office desk chairs. So the desk was around a new desk would cost us around $1,500. So we opted to purchase used, and we got all of it for $2,700. And then anything else we will be dealing with in the 2025 budget.
Did we get delivery of?
It's all here, it's all here.
Who the hell is it?
All in the shop next door. Next door, keep them warm. But it's solid and it's all here.
Yes, he said it was heavy.
Yes.
We had help, didn't
Oh. When they helped him load down there and then he just brought it in here. It still hasn't been unloaded yet. It's still in the trailer.
we? Oh, okay.
Yes,
Well, I guess that's a good thing.
yes, that's why they're using that. Municipal hall maintenance completed by staff was emergency metal roof repair. We completed that in June when we found out we had a leak. The kitchen ceiling water damage was repaired, the hall storage shed locks repaired. We had to do both. The vents all heated out or vacuumed out, sorry, by the staff and reviewed the weather stripping on the doors for any gaps. So we're going to be looking at that again for next year. Pressure wash building in June and September and maintenance at hall will continue to be reviewed. Staffing for the municipality is 3, 1 office clerk, 1 public works maintenance and CAO. Municipality has acquired a piece of equipment that was approved in 2024 budget to improve snow and ice control more efficiently by adding a sander unit for the truck on top of the snow blade, which was bought in 2022. Administration has completed the GST rebate for the first part of the year. It's been submitted, so we are getting approximately 5,000 back from January to June. And then the next GST submission will be in January, and that we're guesstimating because of the rest of the office building will be somewhere in the 30,000. So that's a good thing to have back since we get our GST back.
Yeah, we'll do that in January.
Yes. Dredging boat launch conversation with Angela Fulton and Alex CAO regarding legislation and cost considerations. So did you guys want me to walk through all that or did you, there's quite a bit there.
I think we got it.
Okay, so I tried to give you lots of information and any considerations or discussions would require an engineering review and construction estimates to repair or replace the boat launch. So that'll be a discussion on budget.
Just on that, there's good information there, and I completely agree that, the wind and wave sediment movement would make dredging or, a challenging option to maintain any of the choices there, but, I think there's something to think in mind is it's not really clear to me what next steps we have, if any. We can hope for snow and through the winter and that the lake levels come up, but I'm at a bit of a loss of really what alternatives we have. So do we take a wait and see, or is there anything really that we should be or could be looking at further right now? I don't really think so myself, but thoughts?
I know that the environment and protected areas were saying at a meeting that it's it's a lot of money to do it properly and not do it properly. So you would have to get an engineering firm that is really knows what they're doing with water in the lake. And well, I don't know. I guess we can get some ideas from other places, but we're in a different position here than anybody else because of the way the northwest winds come and just hammers the shore here.
Yeah.
And we can't, of course, do anything about the lake level with the pumping. And that may be coming somewhat because the license for Ball Lake pumping with the filters is going to be submitted to the government by the end of the year. So we have to see what comes with that. But yeah, and the pumping, Paul, would not do anything towards the stabilization other than maintaining. And they had an idea of lowering or taking there's a trigger when they start pumping into the lake. And what was discussed was that they would take that trigger away and then just pump full time.
The portable boat launch system,
Yeah, and that's
that
another
would be an
thought.
interesting one to look at when I did some review on it, but I'd really like to see what they have.
Well, and they probably don't have to go as far.
It was very interesting when I reviewed it, though. You can do different lengths and you can go quite far, so it's very interesting. Whether it would work for us, I don't know. Yeah, you put it out in the spring and you bring it in the fall, which is pretty interesting.
Looks like a big,
Like a rig mat, you know how the rig mats?
Yeah.
And it just rolls out, roll it up and roll it back up.
And you can drive right on this out to get to deeper water.
That's it was showing, yeah,
Yeah.
so it'd be worth investigating and having a discussion.
I think there's probably two options. One is the second would be potential breakwaters on lakes are kind of bizarre, but
Yeah.
because of the wind and wave action, maybe we want to look at that too and say, you know, are there other units in Alberta that have potential, and I believe Ed said something about Slave Lake had a small breakwater built or something like that.
it's something that's like, almost like a, this is the philosophy I was just looking at, was like, it's like an inland marina,
Yes,
but you could, like, you can make it inland ours by putting.
That would be a breakwater.
yeah, but then you still run into what the county runs into where they have to clean that area.
Aerate it.
So there's all different things you have to attach to that. And then some of these other lakes that do it, it depends on depth too. If they've got quite a deep lake, it's a lot easier for them to be able to do those kind of things and put the breakwater things in.
Interesting to have, at least, it's not going to be an immediate solution, but to look at the options.
Yes.
of what else is out there, whether it's a portable one, a breakwater, an inland. Inland seems to be a big capital project, like that's millions. And I'm not sure we're a large enough community to be able to support all of that, because there's additional things with an inland. You're still gonna get your mouths, filled in and all of that. It's still gonna have a lot of dredging issues. So.
I agree with that, and I think that the breakwater, certainly I think would be quite an expensive option too, and perhaps a lot of impact in, the way it changes the sedimentary
Yes.
up and, to the left and right of it, it could end up, completely changing the way sand flows around that lake, could change the beaches a lot, so it's not a straightforward answer there, but I don't really know those portable systems, so that is a little bit intriguing. Maybe we could, Melissa, you could forward a little bit of information on that. That would be interesting to read.
Yeah, I can dig up some more on that, but yeah, I found it was very interesting. Also, I was thinking maintenance costs as you move forward. You have a more sustainable cost in your budgets moving forward annually. So I think there's something to review.
Okay.
More information.
Yeah. So then I also added the sections under grants reviewed. So the Universal Broadband Fund, that came through, and I did reach out to Cyben with the information because of the criteria there. You would have to be somebody who's an entity that operates broadband infrastructure. So I was hoping that might help us in the municipality. Alberta Flood Protection Program is to protect critical infrastructure such as water, wastewater, stormwater networks, and infrastructure to access those services. This grant cannot be used for projects that are considered standard or require upgrades to municipal infrastructure such as stormwater management of natural wetland drainage. So I'm still working on trying to get that interpreted. Tourism grants, nothing that relates with the strategic plan objectives. Candidate grant, we completed that application, so that's in, and we'll keep the Hall Society informed. It's an application for under 5,000. Canada Summer Student Grant Applications is opening November 21st, so we're applying for that. We were going to go and apply for 3. and it offsets 1/3 of the wages in the budget. Municipal climate change grants, there's the community energy conservation, lighting completed in 2022-23. You have to do energy audits, they'll cover up to 50% of it, so you'll still have to budget some of these costs. And then the maximum will be $7,500 for all municipal facilities to retrofit projects up to 50% of pre-GST project costs, so you'll still have to consider how you want to cover the other percentages in your budget. Municipal energy generation rebates and EV charging stations. Now, the EV charging station at this point, it requires existing power infrastructure within a municipal building. Costs of power are on the municipality, or will need to hire a company to manage the equipment, charge rates, internet, and additional annual costs that are not recouped through charge rates will be borne on the municipality. So it's just information, because I've done the research on these. Development permits, we've had 15 on forward last year, 3 encroachment agreements we've got completed, 6 compliance certificates, and in total 90 RV permits. Insurance renewal completed, the municipality has had 2 insurance claims, 3rd Street private property flooding, which now is being rectified completely this year. Incident requiring truck repairs, so that's all taken care of. Shoreline management plan. We just received the environmental assessment, which was quite interesting to tell us what actual fish life we have there that we didn't quite understand ourselves. But I'll be bringing that assessment part to you guys in December, because I just received it. But we're still waiting for the incorporated draft copy, which will come next month too. 2025 provincial equalized assessment report. We received that November 1st, and I've attached it in correspondence, but White Sands has come in at 2025. 126,923,437 is the new 2025 equalized assessment for the Summer Village.
What's the remaining numbers, Melissa? Is it used for anything in particular?
Yes. It is particularly used for school. It's also used for library. It's also used for, who else uses it? Our taxation, our assessments. Your policing requisitions will go off of these equalized assessments. So actually, yeah, a lot of stuff comes up. I also attached in my report the county road use agreement, which was April 1st, 2023, and it should be discussed as part of your ICC letter items. And that, please tell me if I'm looking for.
Yeah.
Yes. Then we go on to my action list. And we have attached the draft letter for council to review. And is this what you want me to proceed to send to the county on the items you want discussed through ICCF?
The Red Willow agreement is still up in the air, right?
Yeah, so the items that I listed based on the strategic, the CAO action list that came from previous councils. Road maintenance agreement will expire April 1st, 2026. So good time to start discussing it for 2025 so we can iron through this. Boat launch, which is, if you were going to have collaboration, we need to start having the discussions as we're going to get going into budgets. Sewage disposal, that was one of the items that was brought up by council. How you want to approach that, that would be a discussion of council. And then bylaw enforcement, policing, exploration of shared approach, that was in the ICF and it has not been looked at. This is just one of the things off that action list that needs to be done. Now we have quorum. I'm ready to send this out if this is what council wants to discuss through ICF. And any budget implications that can come.
Why bylaw enforcement?
It's in your ICF agreement.
It's in your ICF agreement, so I don't know if you want to continue with that, or do you want to pull that off and not talk about it?
Where does this exist?
As you
very-
go into the bottom of your package correspondence,
Yeah.
the original
First one.
ICF is in there.
It's 11.4. So we did attach your ICF agreement for information at the end.
Didn't find that. Okay. Thank you. We didn't set, we requested a meeting, but we didn't set a date or a suggested time to.
I just drafted something for you guys to have the discussion on whether you wish me to proceed with this, any changes. So that we can get this going if this is what you want to do, because we're gonna head into budgets.
Can we change the wording to say a request a meeting prior to fiscal year end or something like that? Or
Okay.
year end?
Yeah,
We want to set, set a sense of urgency to.
okay,
move these. Because if we're expiring.
yeah.
If it'll be possible.
Meeting to be scheduled prior to the end. Gives them a time frame.
Yeah.
And are these the items you really want to discuss, or is there anything you want?
John, I think it should be maybe looked at again. That road use agreement is gonna be contentious.
Oh, I know it is, but I think the discussions we need a year.
Well, we would at least have cost factor, what it costs, actual cost to do the level that they did this year, which we didn't have last year. They just drew 40,000 from the air and said, we think this will be the cost, right?
Yeah.
Now they'll have at least the historical.
So it's every year. So it's every year to do.
Yeah, and because it doesn't expire until April 1st, 2026, but I think if there's gonna be negotiations or discussions, you want this time in this year. Because we're going into elections too. So we're gonna lose time there.
I think, like, on that, it's sort of, if it doesn't get done properly, then
Becomes a legacy, it's just automatic every year.
well.
And there's, if you look at some of the points that I pulled in and put in my report. Like maintenance, the county's maintenance obligation shall be limited to include grading the roads within the service area every 7 to 10 days. I think we need to figure out what do they mean by service area, because I haven't seen it since I've been here.
The grading of the main road, our line.
Just don't touch on.
Right. So I think there needs to be a little,
No, I saw that, it was in there. It was in there up to a property line.
yeah, up to the property line. I guess there would,
That road from the property line to 56, that's the only road we're talking about, right?
yeah. It just feels a bit odd that, okay, because we're hooped, we don't have the same equipment as they do. Would it
Well,
not
it's not
be?
our road either. Legally, we could grade. I don't think we could grade, and if we wanted to.
No.
There. Yes.
The rest is.
To deal with it. The fact that they're charging us for it. That's a bit contentious. That's the contention.
It is contentious, and I think it's time to start opening those discussions so that we can.
Yeah.
maybe find amicable solution that works better.
At least then you'll with the discussions, you'll find out how they're coming along with acquiring property if they are for that other road.
Yes.
They have to do the ball party.
Which they, yeah, because there's things they're supposed to be keeping up with. So.
We don't have it from Horses Mount, we have it from numerous of what's being done. And I think it's important that we know what's going on.
I think not just road maintenance agreement, but road access agreements or road routes or, because if we just talk about the agreement, we're gonna talk about, well, this is, but how do you talk about what's road infrastructure perhaps, or
Right.
get to a bigger picture, because I don't want to just focus on, you know,
You're right.
that we're complaining about the road or we having to pay for the road.
I think you have to have these discussions to look at the bigger picture, because at this point, I think we are the only municipality who has one of these. Which is a consideration of why.
Yeah, and I don't know, and do know some of the history of it, but I think some of it is, you know, use the word blackmail, but definitely coerced into something that we didn't see we had a whole lot of choice. But it'd be interesting to know what is the bigger picture, and I don't know if they know it. But, you know, if it definitely is going to affect us, whether, you know, a road gets paid or built or whatever. How do we get that information? So I think road framework, road access, I don't know what the word is.
Just finished.
Well, this opens the door because we have this.
Yeah.
How you approach it when we get to that meeting, I think is in the discussions.
But there's already a brand new traffic study that Santa did from South Buffalo Lake. And then it's 3 different preferred routes to work on.
Yeah.
And one was from White Sands to 56, the other one was like all the way to former stop. And then the other one was going down from the road, and then the preferred one that was chosen was to go right south of
That's right, right straight.
So how, where's this information?
We can, is it on the website?
No, it wasn't,
Well,
but
the
it was a
county-
policy.
The county would have the study on their website, but I think those are things that we need to have that discussion in the
I
ICF.
want to be, like, I'm on this committee, I want to be prepared with that knowledge. This is the first I hear that there was 3 options. I mean, I assume that, but I would like to read, you know, to be prepared to discuss some of that, so if you can point me in the right direction.
You have those things.
I have the study saved, but I could pull it right from their council package, so the
Yes.
division had to make a decision on that, since it's in the county's realm, right? So we can pull that.
I think I would like that for all 3 of us to take a look at that.
So did you still want to reword line Article 1 or just leave it as is or?
So the letter, there's a minor change to it, but other than that, are all the items in there good?
And again, road maintenance and road maintenance agreement, or road infrastructure and road maintenance agreement or something like
Okay.
that.
So we'll change item number, first point to road infrastructure and
I kind of want to know, like, a big picture, and then you can focus on, you know,
Road maintenance, so road infrastructure, and road maintenance.
That report is extensive.
how about future road infrastructure?
like that in the middle,
Future road infrastructure.
because this is anticipating what the plan is.
Future road infrastructure and White Sands Road Maintenance Agreement. Because then it's clear. You're asking in this,
I don't know the big picture and specific.
No, just keep that maintenance agreement expired.
Two weeks before, we'll focus on, Red Bull.
Yeah, that was what was the resolution of council, so that's why it's in there. Yeah. Whether you still want to do anything with the lagoons, that's.
I'd like to know more about what their plans are and what access we have or don't have to.
Yeah.
Don't have to. Is it restricted to their residents only, or is it?
Well,
Yeah.
what we did send, is a request to see if the county will be interested in us having some partnership with the new, have to put in for the pipeline down to Red Bull Creek. That's the problem. And they didn't want that.
Not full ownership, but do we have access?
Depends on what we do.
Yeah.
As far as
Could depend on councils and elections.
go back up. Still gotta move back.
Yeah.
They don't have room. Person. They have for one residence, but not for. Unfortunately.
That's something that we discussed jointly with Ocean. Like, do we ever engage in a discussion with Roshan about sewage, about the road, about the boat launch, about?
Yes,
do we have that on- Like, this ICC is only with the county of Skipton.
correct.
Do we have kind of, because they would be challenged with some of the same, you know, challenges, threats, whatever,
Road maintenance agreement, no.
because they don't.
They've got a highway.
Yeah, there's the pay rate too. So they just go, yeah, whatever. put it on.
Boat launch,
They have their own too.
they have their own.
But wouldn't we get,
Switch disposal, yes. to
so
a
they
point.
are allowed to take it into Erskine, but we're not.
No,
They're not in.
No.
So they have the same challenges there.
Correct. They're also tight in budgets too. So again, every one of these things that we're going to approach, there's going to be implications or budget.
Yeah,
implications.
but I'd like to get their learnings too as well, because, you know, if you don't know, then you're gonna play each other.
Yeah, and the boat launch, as far as the boat launch, as far as the approval for RW, they were, one of the, conditions was to either share with another municipality that has a boat launch or put their own name. And that's a condition of the development.
Okay.
And, as far as the sewer, you know, it's gonna be a fight forever. There's actually 2 studies of sewer on South Buffalo Lake. And like I probably know at home and they've been done over the years.
Like I'm thinking this has to be from White Sands to the county. If the county wishes to bring in Roshan Sands to work on this, that would be their call, but I know in discussions I've had with them, they one-on-one. So it's kind of, we're caught in we have a shared, because we have the border of the lake. But yet, with the way this was structured, each municipality had to have that agreement with the county.
Well, I'm not saying, I'm just saying, what are the, do we have an ICC agreement or meeting? How do we communicate with Roshan?
We would have to set up our own.
Yeah,
Because we don't. Officially, we don't. Unofficially, we.
we have joint meetings about things.
Oh, okay.
And there's,
On the lake and stuff, yeah.
Yes.
for example, whether it's gonna be completely the same, either
Yeah.
they already have one. It's not the same as us because
And they're quite interested in ours, so that's why I haven't brought anything yet, because now that I've received one of the reports, I'd like to have a conversation with the CAO over there and see if they're interested and see if there would any recouping of costs that would help him to be able to update it. He's in the same boat, right? So it's this environmental assessment of the beach and our waterfront area and stuff like that. It's got a lot of good information in there. He might be really interested in having that. Yeah. But if you guys are good, we'll make the slight amendment to this letter and then I will forward it off and start getting it into works. Okay? Okay, so I got a motion.
Move to amend the letter, read intermunicipal collaboration framework meeting to request a meeting prior to, year end. And then reword item 1, future, and then in quotes, future road infrastructure and White Sands Road Maintenance Agreement expires April 1st, 2026, end quote. And once amended to have administration send the letter to the county settler. And follow, yeah, please.
And I'll make sure all the other items are there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yes.
Motion.
You still with us, Paul?
Okay. So I'll make that motion. All in favor?
Yes.
I'll try and, I think I got well, you have the road agreement on
Yes, I do.
computer, so you can send it to Dan and to Paul. Don't mind.
I'm like, there's quite a few things I'll be sending.
And then the transportation study has to be electronic because it's huge.
Yeah, no, I will get that all pulled together. Actually, I'll build a package first and then I will send it out to everybody so that this again is more council education stuff. So that's what I want to keep it together as.
Yeah, and the real, with the transportation study, the page is this long. And we studied what they did with traffic counts and all the rest of it. But you still have to realize how they did, like, how they come up with the background. And we paid, and so did Roshan Sands paid, we seriously got grant, I think it was around 50 grand or more.
Yeah. It was done under a grant as a shared opportunity, but approvals on any construction as it is in the county would be.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Okay, so I have provided you the strategic plan action list. Now, this strategic plan was done early in the spring of 2024 to help with budgeting and kind of get the direction of where council was going. And this is a strategic plan was a council and staff all sat down together and we created a plan of what we thought everybody in the community was going. So I've added this in. I've got the action in here and just wanting to make sure that how does the new councilors feel about this action plan? And then do we want to redo this prior to budgets? We're running out of time, or is this something we want to kind of carry over and maybe review in after the elections in 2025?
Well, being that there's two new councillors, I'll speak for one of them. I think that we need some time to review it and maybe ask some questions one-on-one or talk. Get some, get some background material, because I can't respond to this now. I don't know, obviously it's all dealing with most of the things that have come up, but I don't have the background in kind of going, all the historical stuff and all that. So I would like some time. It would be, so this is the one, it doesn't have a title, right?
No, it is the table.
Yeah, just a table. Yeah, put a title on it and but yeah, I'd like a chance to take a look at it and then just ask some, and it doesn't, I don't think it needs to be in council. It's more of a, you know, what about a policy for this or policy for that?
Correct, yeah.
So, and I did, you know, that's probably more Paul and I calling you or visiting you or whatever. Yeah, obviously, a lot easier if it was here, but,
And the thing is, yeah, I agree with you, and any questions you have on it, that would be fantastic, just email me, call me, whatever. This 2024 council strategic plan, I put it in the back end of the package here. And this is the action list by the ranking and, or the list of it, and then I created an action plan of where we're at.
And if I want to comment, I think the whole thing should be redone with new council.
I think so, but I was thinking maybe we should then go through the next election cycle and then do it, because then we set the 4-year mandate.
they probably don't want to do it every year. You know.
But these rankings for our budget these rankings can be adjusted for sure.
That's what, under the total, that's what that means. That's how, what the priority, so the higher the number, the more people felt that this was important.
Yeah, and it was done. Oh, it was at the office, and that's when Leanne came and did it.
Yeah.
with us.
And council had a higher ranking than staff.
Yeah,
Yes. Yeah,
Yeah, I'd like to go back some time to go through.
you bet.
and that's why some of this stuff, when you go read through all it, and once you reviewed it, ask us the question, because some were kind of implemented, some haven't been implemented fully because they're needed better clarification.
Some of it can have been put on. Right?
Hey, this is a plan by council, it just gives me something. Yeah,
We should do the ranking
yes,
for this year anyway.
So this goes with the more detailed at the very end.
Yes.
yeah.
Strategic plan, and it starts off with a nice picture with the kayak or something.
And then this will be little items that will move into your budget deliberations, so you get to make some really good decisions based on, because this is kind of telling me direction of what to consider, what to look at.
Dan, did you know about bookmarks in the Adobe PDF?
Did I know that you
Did you
did?
notice? No. So, okay, so, if you can, so, yeah. But then you don't worry.
Yeah, no. So
We just started out on this package. So it's easier to click through.
Yes, and then we can click
Oh,
on.
okay, gotcha, thank you. I did not know that. I was searching for it.
Or I think the administrator taught us.
So it'd be 11.6, 2024 council strategic plan, and then it should take you right to this page.
That's much better. Thank you.
Same for you, Paul, if you didn't notice.
Oh, sorry.
That's why I got this.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that, and that helps me forward. So we should read, Paul and I for sure should read and jumping to it, 11.6, the plan, and then based on that, the lead.
Action list is where I've kind of been going through on how do I.
9.3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Put two together, and you need feedback on that and questions, and that's part of our education training program.
And that's gonna come into your budget deliberations too.
Which are when?
Some of these action plan items, when we go into budget discussions. Not January.
Because I do notice that Calgary and some of the bigger cities are doing it now. Because it's more extensive for sure.
Yes,
So so the cycle for us has been, we start that in January, and when do we approve that?
so the cycle for us as municipal government is we're going to bring you the last year's 3-year budget. The one that was approved. And we're going to take a look at how that was. And you will approve an interim operating budget
Or for December.
in December based on the 2024. So you're gonna get a good look at the whole budget that was passed by council.
Yeah.
And then starting January, we start working on it. February, we start getting our assessments. And then that's when we start bringing in to have the discussions with council based on the new assessments, any requests that you have approved, because you're gonna have to approve these requests and kind of collaborate and put them into the budget to see how it. And then you go from there. So it's about a 2 to 3 month process that we're gonna go back.
Budget has to be finalized prior to tax notifications being sent out based on mill rate.
Yeah.
Yes. We usually, smaller municipalities pass it about April.
So the process starts from December-ish, and then gets formalized in January, and then gets finalized in April, May.
Yep. So there's a time frame to schedule, have the open, because budget discussions are in the public.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
But they will be separate scheduled meetings so that we can say, okay, let's schedule a budget meeting and you guys can have the hash out and talk and we walk through.
And municipal affairs, we have to have a 3-year and 5-year for capital.
So what we're doing is we'll take all of last year's and kind of work our way and then look at the official numbers after we clean up year end. And then we will provide you the changes. I'm thinking we should, depending on assessments and depending on how we work our budgets, I think we could be okay this year.
Well, I don't want to jump ahead because we do have some of that discussion coming up, so.
Yes. Okay, election notes, we decided we would just provide you a review of how the election went. Little things and then Bill 20.
I did the 2-pager and then I included ended up being a little 2-page sheet about the budget, and so there's the ballot boxes, because we also ordered for the next one, general election, and the blinds in preparation for it from
Yeah,
Saskatchewan.
we have to order from
Saskatchewan.
Saskatchewan.
That's still coming, the invoice, so I don't know how much that is, and then I just put in, then there's a few smaller items, meals, like the supper and lunch for the workers and stuff, is not listed in here yet. So, it's almost complete for next week.
The benefits is we have the staff now for the next election. And we have a fair amount of our products now, so we don't have to be pressing around.
I think the general ones will be aligned with the rest of them.
Yeah, at the end of summer.
Line with other summer villages. Yes.
Yeah, historically, your nomination day is in July, and then usually the 4 weeks off, 4 weeks after your nomination day would be your election, just like how this by-election is still similar. The timeline, so we'll be looking in August for the actual election day. So, yeah.
Typically on a long weekend, so it'd be the August 1st long weekend.
Yeah, that's what we're gonna
Try to
work up the schedule.
Yeah.
You will drop the writ when we give you all your info.
And you just go up until.
Okay, council revenue and expenditures, anything we provided you end of September and October.
So I did have a question on this.
Okay.
And that is, the percent variance doesn't seem to compute in my mind for some reason, because it's percentage, and you've got for example, recreation and parks. So that's 500% increase above budget.
Oh, so you had.
That's your revenue.
Revenue. Yeah.
Okay, so you collected a lot more revenue, but even if you jump down to expenses, so you go to bylaw enforcement.
Yes.
So that's saying that it the actual budgeted for where am I now? I lost it. 800 and came out to 27. Okay, so when I look at these, I look at them and go, okay, if the variance is not much, then I probably don't spend a lot of time on it. If I see some big ass numbers, I do spend a lot of time.
Yes.
But for example, transportation going up, the math didn't work out for me. 122 to 129, and that was 105%. So it's a 5% increase,
Yes,
not 100.
correct. So we've hit our budget and we've gone over 5%.
I'm not sure on the system, like you're talking about the variance, so this
Yeah.
variance is in the year in total up to date. So, like, if we look at the October 31st, because that's the most current, when we look at transportation expenses,
Yeah.
you were over 14.54%. Because it's 100, so we use.
Yeah, it's the 100 that's throwing me off.
Yeah. Take the 100 away.
Okay, 'cause then it's a small variance where it's, or even a 300 is, you know.
Yeah, that bylaw enforcement was,
Obviously,
Yeah, I understand. There will be, but it helps when you're planning for the next budget. You can
yes,
say, okay, these, we obviously went over a little bit, or we went over a lot. And
so culture.
and it's called rejigging for the next budget.
that's,
So like for culture, some of the expenses would be now we're tracking wages that happens for the hall. So that's like the hall, the ticket, leave it, shed and everything like that. So we're tracking what happens, what we have to do here. We have to do transportation and parks and recs. So that'd be like mowing the grass or anything like the vegetation. And so when I get a timesheet, my staff or Melissa's staff are breaking everything up. So now that it's being tracked properly, because the years past they weren't.
this is the further breaking down.
Further breaking down, and of course, the big one wasn't budgeted, it's budgeted in parks and rec and transportation essentially, but not officially.
Not double counting.
No,
No,
I don't want to put it in.
yeah.
yes.
This is a more accurate, accounting.
Mhm.
Yeah, because I think prior budgeting isn't looking at, when I first came in, like, okay, so Parks and Rec or culture, the hall, we don't have enough budgeted because we always like, well, volunteer. Well, not all of it's volunteer. Some of it requires staff, and staff hours should be allocated so that we can make sure that when you guys look at it, the budgets are showing where your costs are going. Yeah. But
Transportation is just a typo.
No,
no,
So take off.
Take out the hundreds, please.
This is only 5%, not 105. It's just the way that they,
That's the system that we report.
exactly.
Not on
every one of these is like this
that. So
one.
this is,
So planning and development, yes.
Year-to-date numbers that we're looking at, or is this just for the month of September and then the one for October is just for the month of October?
Year to date to the end of September.
8 months out of the 10, or 7 months out of the 10. Doing the, you know. Yeah. It's the variance.
so then this one here, culture is 48%.
Correct. So it hasn't hit the 100%, but we're running it at 48. So the overall budget, no,
Well, even general administration, if you look at that, you're thinking a 9%, but that means you've only used 9% of the administration budget. But if you go, or sorry, that was budget.
Yeah.
That was revenue, only, yeah. So you have to go down to.
you have to go into the expenditures.
Yeah.
So right now, if you look at council and legislative, you guys are sitting at
53.75%.
Here's 50% of the budget.
yeah,
And if you go down further, you've used 79%. And if you go to the 101, you've used more than 100% of the budget. So you're gonna go over that.
yes,
That's how you, okay.
yeah.
I could not understand the.
Yes. And then when you go,
So then.
so that's showing how the department changes. on-
Yeah.
Yeah, and then,
No, you've used 3 times
3 times the amount.
times the budget.
So you're got to look at this one especially is go to your October, as of October 31st. So the first one, September now is past, is just for your information, but if you want to look to date, you want to go to the October one. So if you do the council revenue expenditures is this page. It says period ending October 31st. So if you're looking at the bylaw one, where we had to go to court for tickets that people were fighting we're over budget. But like we blew the budget. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So now,
800, but there is $2,744.80 in that budget. That's
for example, firefighting, we've used up 99.9% of the budget.
Yes, because your budget's an estimate in some cases. That's not a bad estimate, 99.
The only things that I would look at this then and say, holy cow, we need to put more budget in the future for bylaw enforcement because, but maybe not, we gotta look over past years as well.
Correct.
But, and then you go down to, I would go down to culture and say, well, we anticipated 14, but we're now spending 23. And yeah, so we're gonna almost double, so that's twice as much, so we should either allocate more or find out why we spent so much over budget.
And the second, yes.
The numbers to me did not make sense, but now
Yeah.
Now you're talking layman.
No, you're talking right to me. I hear what you're saying.
Well,
And then in the requisitions, if you look at it, we're 75%,
percent of it, okay.
which means we still have one more quarter of requisitions to come for the end of the
So we
year.
still have-
So that should be 100% in the end of December.
The way I've seen these before is if you're under budget, you're in red by a negative percent under budget. Or 20% over budget. So that's how I would, and that would be black or something. Okay.
Ours is way different.
we skipped a motion at this moment. You need to receive, I'm gonna guess you want to receive items 9.1 to 9.4, the report of information. Other than the first motion that we did about the letter.
Yes.
Yeah. All in favor?
Yes.
Who's doing it?
Yeah.
Yeah, Lauren.
I'm getting tired.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think.
No, here we go.
So, yeah.
So you understand the revenue and expenditures? And if you guys want to finish going through that, is there any other questions?
No.
So far, we're still within our budgets. We're cutting close, but we will make it to the end of the year.
Have a bigger pot to draw out of next year.
Well, no, I think Dan's got it right. Do you want to we can bring you a breakdown of transportation, kind of where things have been, culture, where things are, and then you'll have time to think about how you want to talk about that in the budget.
Well, I think the only items that I really, I would like to know are the ones that we've significantly gone over on. And maybe an explanation, so like bylaw, well, you don't know the answer and you can get it to court. That's something that I would need to know, well, what was the other past, so then I would wanna know the past 5 years.
So that we haven't had those issues.
Yeah, and anything that went significantly under, well, where were we, maybe this year was an unusual year, the postal, I don't know, whatever. Something
Yeah.
weird happened, so then I would, if you only look at the one, the rest of them, I don't care, if they're all kind of close. But the significant items, I think we need to know a little historical, especially for the new councils.
Yes, I agree.
And the old guy that forgets to read.
Yeah. Because under culture, is that where the trees went?
Part of it is the trees and then, no, that's Parks and Rec. It probably got broken up in a few places.
I don't think we need to know the answer today, it's more the future, and anything that's significant, I would like to know.
Yeah.
Kind of. So.
I love the third direction because it makes my life easier than trying to follow.
Yes, you can receive these items 10.1 to 10.6 of financial reports as presented as information. Who wants to make the motion?
I will.
All in favor?
Yes.
Yeah. All, okay. Correspondence. Resident question. I think probably that was put in there for information.
They requested that they wanted it provided to you.
Yeah,
No, it's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some were right on the money and some were, but it was good for him. So, yeah.
we're doing like, if this was for the forum, then it's no use us responding to the.
We do not need to respond.
You do not need to respond. They asked that they wanted this in the council package is information for council, additional questions. I thought some of it was great. I thought some gave me some of the things that I have been kind of thinking as administration to start reviewing, so I can bring to you guys. So there are some things that were really, really informative that I think are things we need to look at in the future, the bigger picture.
So I think it was sent by email.
Yeah.
I think, it was sent to the CEO, so I think the CEO should respond back on behalf saying, it has been reviewed by council and accepted for information. Thank you for your input, and that's it.
Yeah.
I don't
I'll
think we need
send
to,
an email.
I don't think we need to go to each question and answer, but, we've got it, and it's helpful.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay,
Do we need a motion for that?
The motion for that. For us to review.
You know what?
Yeah, you're okay.
I'll let you know it was in the package and council thanks you.
okay, so Bill 20,
Yeah, that's information.
Yeah, so I copied some of it from the election, but then it was not a great.
associate membership.
Yeah, it's just pretty standard every year, there's gonna be some kind of increase in somewhere, so.
Within that ICF framework is.
Yeah.
Has to be read on.
With the letter, yeah, sending, so that's good information for you guys.
Equalized assessments over 6 million. Oh, no, that's for all the communities, okay.
I put in all the communities so you can get a sense of the percentage differences between each of them.
Not exactly the same.
It's the difference between 2025 and 2024.
This is equalization payments, so this is what we pay to the provincial government and taxes we collect.
This is the requisitions that you are paying, and some of them follow the equalized stuff.
Yeah.
Your equalized assessment is your total
Collect
assessment.
$1 million from the residents and we ship off 500,000 to the provincial government to cover the library, to cover this, to cover that.
In requisitions, yeah.
There's the main big one for the
Yeah.
equalized.
Yeah, that was like 80,000 quarterly.
Yeah,
That's the whole value of everything in the village. And this year we gained 6 million. So the new requisition will be based on, some requisitions are based on equalized assessment.
yeah. And I know if we had FCSS, they always wait for the equalized assessment and then they use that when they're calculating for their requisition amounts they're going to be.
So is my water paid for that?
Markets, right?
If it goes up, you're always gonna get more tax.
Yeah.
So what we probably should do, and
Yeah.
all of our requisitions and payments or whatever. If sometime we can make up a list of them all and see what the requisition is based on, whether it's population. Or whether it's equalized assessment. Whether that other, like the landfill authority is that equation.
Yeah.
But was
Your
using your stats. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no, it's now, it's.
Well,
probably when it's-
It was using that number, but then it has a formula where you can. modify it.
Yeah, so what happened was, remember, it was.
Yeah.
$20,000, $20,000, and then the new equation came out and it was close to 30,000.
So do you want this back at next meeting?
Actually, what we're going to do is we're gonna start checking on the different requisitions and payments that we have to do, and we'll actually add in what in our notes. This is based on equalized assessment, this is based on a formula. And then that way you'll get a better understanding of how each of these are reflected based on certain things. But this equalized assessment is going to start telling me how and where our budgets are gonna be looking compared to what we did past. That's where this, like Red Deer is proposed, they had their 3-year, and it looked like it was a 4%, and now they're talking, well, based on all the increases now and the different things, it's going to be another 6% on top of that 4%. That's why they're looking at 11%. But again, those budgets, they haven't been approved yet. That's just the perception of it.
Rather than do the larger ones before. So that there can be lots of meetings, trying to figure out through the administration.
So this equalized basically says that our assessed value went up 5%-ish.
Yes,
Okay.
So they would count, housing.
Yeah, that's the main one for us.
that's it. We're right.
You know, a lot used to sell for 300, now it's selling for 310. So that's kind of what that says.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, and that's,
Development on them.
yeah,
Yes, they've developed more lots.
You've got a few this year that built houses on vacant lots, so.
yeah,
So that's based on
yeah.
They do this for every village and town.
You betcha, and that's why I put it all in here, because if you went through the whole listing of different villages, we would see the different changes, and you would see how they grow, don't grow, some have changed in the goal. But the strategic plan is in there for as information.
Yeah.
And see them all if you want, get some other things.
Yeah. And then. I guess we're.
Well, we don't need to go into camera and count that.
Well, that should have been done first, but.
No.
We can still, no, but I mean, shoot it on the agenda, but.
Yeah. No, we don't.
Would be good to have a heads up if we're gonna go on camera, so it's well.
Yep, thank you.
So, motion to accept information correspondence is written.
11.1 to 11.6 of correspondence as presented as information. Who wants to put the name on it? Is that right?
Paul, are you still alive?
And then move to adjourn meeting.
We have to vote on the acceptance.
Yeah, so you move, so the receipt, you guys all voted?
Yeah.
Okay, adjournment.
Just voting on the correspondence.
Correspondence is information, all of it. Okay, motion to adjourn, who wants to do it?
I think Paul.
Oh, one eye.
Motion that we adjourn. Good meeting.
About 11,
1:11.
1:11 p.m.
Okay. Thanks, Paul.
Thank you, Paul, go get some rest.
You gotta get some rest. Okay.